are in Baird Country. Okay, welcome to Baird Country. Today we have an awesome guest. We have the Xander Budnick. I don't know if you know Xander. You've probably seen him in a few of my YouTube videos. We've done a few trips together. Xander is a YouTube savant, canoe tripping specialist, a survival guy, and all around good dude. Check out his channel, Xander Budnick. It's spelt with an X. And winter camping. The guy goes out and sleeps between two bonfires when it's minus 30 and really just puts himself out there and does an amazing, amazing job. Probably one of the best jobs you'll see on YouTube at filming it. So yeah, Xander, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I love the word savant when introducing me. What a bold claim.
I don't really even know what that means.
It's just like somebody who's like very well versed and just like
I kind of could have guessed that.
You know what I mean.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So Xander, you're welcome. We're on the lower Magnetawan River at the head of a canyon, a rapid-filled canyon, not just any canyon, and 100-foot walls on either side, and the rapid is 300 meters long. You're paddling in to solo this whole thing with a canoe full of gear. What happens?
Well, I had the great Jim Baird and his brother Ted, as well as my brother Max. They're all pretty gung-ho for the rapids. And Jim told me, he's like, the biggest obstacle is at the start. And if you flip, you're going to spill and you're going to have to run this entire rapid like in the water. But the chances of pinning are pretty low. And so after these guys all decided to do it, I had to do it. So I was pretty excited to do it, but I was on the wrong side as I came into this curling wave that was hitting from river right. And I was bracing on my left. I should have cross-bowed braced onto the side in which the wave was coming into as I was heading into this curling wave. And I got eaten alive. I grabbed the gunnel of my canoe like an amateur would. And I splish splashed in the water down the rapid. And it wasn't until Jim yelled from way up on the canyon walls. He's like, Xander, grab the rope. And yanked on the rope of the canoe, which I learned later is probably not the best thing to do in this situation. You want to stay clear of the boat.
You definitely don't want to be in front of it.
Yeah, you don't want to be in front of it, yeah. But I just ended up being swooshed down this raging canyon, class 3. My canoe, named Patches, for obvious reasons, was smashed into the boulder. Yeah. The only thing that was a pin risk on the entire stretch of rapids, and it managed to like swerve around it, and all my gear was kind of like washed down with my limp body as I shamefully ended up in the eddy. I wouldn't say shamefully, but like hilariously ended up in the eddy where I was able to collect most of my stuff. And a lot of really good footage. Later, my brother's girlfriend posted on Reddit. It was like my brother running the C3 rapids and the people in like our whitewater. Are you familiar with Reddit?
A little bit, yeah.
They just like ate me apart. They're like, this guy is textbook doing everything that you should not do in this situation. Bracing on the wrong side. Yeah. Now you're wearing knee straps. Doesn't have a deck. He's running with all his stuff. There was no spotters. He held the rope. It was like they just like ate me apart. Yeah, and it was pretty humbling, to be honest. But like I'm out there to learn, and I knew that the consequences were pretty low. Right. So I was willing.
I mean, some people would disagree. Do you know how to swim?
Yeah.
Yeah. So swimming a 300 meter long class 3. Is not super easy. There's kind of some sections in between that aren't so crazy. What was going through your mind when you dumped on that first curling wave right at the head of this canyon, knowing that whole rapid is in front of you and your canoe's tipping and it's all happening in a split second and you're like, I'm going in the water. What were you thinking?
My first thought, it was, oh, fuck, I'm an idiot. I grabbed the gunnel. I'm like, that was actually my first thought. I'm like, I grabbed the gunnel because you're supposed to brace into the paddle, both hands on the paddle. And I just kind of like, I'm in the water. And then it was like, okay, this is like powerful. This is like, it was real. It was like, when you're swimming in the rapids, it's like you feel the surge of water pushing you, and all of a sudden it's like shit just gets like very serious.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where it was like, okay, like I'm in front of, or I'm behind the canoe. So the canoe is like downriver from me. So I'm in not a bad position. And I'm like trying to like juggle some stuff back in so I kind of can keep it, like my barrel, which I didn't have strapped down, silly enough. And then you yell like, grab the rope. I'm like, okay.
Grab the throw bag or something like that. And then you did smash right into that rock too.
Yeah.
And your canoe like shook. Like it was pretty close to, were you at all worried that you might actually pin on that rock?
There was, I mean, everything happened so quickly that it's like, I saw it like as I was floating by it, and I saw the canoe just drag up against it as I was like coming past it. And I was like, oh shit, there goes my canoe. And then it kind of came around. I'm like, oh, okay, good. I still have the canoe.
Yeah.
And like, I'm intact. Like that's all I really cared about. And
right.
You know, it was, things happen so quickly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're just kind of like, you're out of it. And you're like, okay, now what? Okay. I swim, I haul this stuff to shore and collect my dignity. And hopefully there's some cool footage.
Yeah. I do find it to be a little bashing to the ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I dumped on that trip too, and I was trying to run like a stupid line, and then you guys all took like a way easier line and just made it look easy. And there's me swimming. You know, I definitely didn't try to grab the gunnels, I suppose. Like if I want to, what a great way to prove that you don't need to grab the gunnels and that you just keep going for that brace is by careening sideways into a giant hole. That's what I did. Wow.
That was awesome, by the way. Like when you did that, there was part of me that was just like, nice. Jim also bailed. So therefore,
right.
You know, all we needed was Ted to bail, and then we would have been full circle.
Yeah. Oh, that was a lot of fun, man. Remember what we saw at the base of that canyon? A smashed apart canoe.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say that canoe got pinned on the same boulder that you almost got pinned on in that canyon. And then also remember how we saw some mountain climbing equipment on the trees way up on the canyon's edge, like almost like that same canoe people tried to extract.
Right.
And they like rope down. Maybe it was like a guiding company, you know, taking guided and their clients got stuck there.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, for me and for most rapids, where I draw the line is like, I'm going to die if I run this rapid. Right. But the thing is, when you're on a remote canoe expedition, and we were like fairly remote, but we could have walked out of there. We weren't like in the northern Canadian wilderness. The issue is not necessarily whether you will die in the rapid. You might get shooken up. You might have a crazy swim, but it's whether you're going to lose your canoe and it's going to be bashed to pieces. Yeah. You're going to have none of your gear there. Maybe your communications equipment is gone. Yeah. And now you have no way to get out of there. No clothes. You're wet. No, hypothermia sets in, and you might have to try walking out like 100 kilometers to the closest road or something like that. Right. That's like usually the bigger danger.
It's all risk mitigation.
Yeah.
It's like if you have any questions whether or not it's going to be okay, it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Probably not. But when you're hanging out with Jim Baird and Ted Baird and Max Budnick and everybody else is running, it's like, okay.
Gives you an inflated sense of security.
Let's do it. Yeah.
It is way safer though when you have a bunch of guys that are ready to jump in and help, or
like 100 meters up the canyon wall, ready to dive in to save you.
I mean, what we,
Don't worry, Xander, I'm coming.
Into boulders, dead. Yeah, but we did have another canoe. You probably could have paddled in Max's canoe, right?
Exactly.
Like he had a 16-foot canoe or
could
something.
have shared
right?
a sleeping bag. Actually, that's one of the survival videos I want to do. The Baird brother survival sandwich. Yeah, where down to -30, try to survive the night in between two Baird brothers.
Yeah, me and my brother decided that we'd just rather die. And that's actually one of the good things about having two canoes, right? Like, let's say there's me and Ted when we did this big canoe trip on the Cujo River, which is in the Arctic. We're like, if you're hypothermic and you can't get a fire going to warm you up because you're in the Arctic and there's no trees, you have to get in the same sleeping bag together. But if both people's body temperature is too low, then how are you going to warm the other person up? So me and Ted, we thought about if one person goes in and we're just like, you have to strip down naked, hold your bodies close to each other, warm the other person up. You need an external heat source. Even your sleeping bag's not going to work to warm you up.
Right.
So my brother and I decided we would rather just die.
Yeah. Than be found like that.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I hear like dying of cold is pretty peaceful.
Really? Yeah,
I'm sure it's better than dying by fire.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to really dive into figuring that out, but yeah, cool. So Xander, you have a YouTube channel. How many subscribers do you have now?
Just hit 650,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's mostly all, what kind of content?
Outdoor based. Usually it involves sleeping somewhere outside, cooking some food.
Yeah.
Maybe trying some new type of survival skill.
Right.
Something outside usually. We kind of playing around. It's not like I don't just do canoe tripping. I don't just do winter camping. A little bit of fishing, dabbling into hunting, though that seems to be controversial, which, I understand. But, some people need to learn more about, why people hunt, which I'm learning about. And that's kind of my journey. It's like taking people along with me as I learn outdoor skills. Because I've always been in the outdoors, but doing deep backcountry canoe trips and survival challenges and winter camping. This has only been like, these bigger trips have been, 5 years now.
Right. Well, you're not that old though.
I'm 34.
Yeah. So, I've been doing big trips for 18 years now, but when you hear that, it's like, okay, was he starting at 2 or is this guy old?
Right.
Okay. So you're a kid, you're growing up in a, relatively small town in Southern Ontario, right? So you're kind of close-ish to big cities, but a small town. Did you have access to nature, to forest, to farm fields? Like where did you kind of get into it?
We had a river running through our small town of there's 500 to 1,000 people in the town. Carlisle is the name of the town. Me and my buddy Rob, we used to go down the river, catch frogs, build forts, built so many forts in that.
Aren't they called bushcraft shelters?
Yeah, I guess so. Young bushcraft forts, tree forts, skid forts, like all that stuff. Chasing around, like collecting toads from window wells, shoving them down my friend's pants.
Oh, nice. Just all
Kid
the
stuff.
normal things.
Yeah. And then we had a cottage up in Haliburton where we'd go in the summers mostly, and that was where we went to camp, and that was my first experience with canoe tripping. And I found I was really myself when I was at camp. I felt like I was in my element, but I took that for granted until I guess in high school when we did more of outdoor programs. And that's when I really found my calling again. Or at least that's when I found okay, it was the fusion between, the video class, the video editing class in high school, as well as the outdoor program in grade 12 grade 12 high school, that it was kind of okay, these two things are kind of what I want to do, but I had to come full circle with that later in life. But
so you like the outdoors?
Yes, I like the outdoors.
And also you had a background in, you really got into filming, shooting, content creation as well, independent of each other.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I grew up with the show Jackass. I'm sure a lot of you guys did. So we filmed each other doing dumb shit around the
right.
So everybody did, and that was kind of the intro to filming. And then in high school, took a video class, and I aced that class.
Nice.
And then I wanted to go to university for that stuff, which I kind of lost track with for many years. But it was around that time that I filmed my first outdoor canoe trip, which is still on YouTube to this day, which is my brother Max and I and two of our friends, both named Justin. We did the Missinaba River from Matisse up to Moose Factory in Moosonee.
Neat.
Yeah. And that was in 2008.
Okay. And you filmed that?
It's it's on my YouTube channel. It's 14 years ago.
Why haven't I seen this?
Because it's deep in the archives.
Yeah. Okay.
I just did a reaction to it on my, reliving it on my second channel, Xander Budnick 2. And subscribe.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, shameless self-promotion, buddy. It's the more to you.
Yeah.
So you started doing that, and then did you did you ever get to the point where, and because you're a full-time YouTuber right now, right?
Yeah.
So you're living the dream. Isn't it an awesome job?
Oh, it's like it's the best.
It's the best, right?
It's the best.
And you see so many people nowadays that are kind of struggling, you know, having that job that's like the secure job at a big business is getting to be less and less of a thing.
Right.
At what point did you realize that did you realize, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, or did you just say, this is what I have to do? Or what was kind of going through your mind when you were like, okay, I have to become a YouTuber. I want to be filming. Was it, I want to take my passion for the outdoors and find a way to monetize it? Or was it the other way around?
It was, yeah. It was kind of the other way around. Like I always wanted to film content of some sort. I always wanted to be either a videographer, make movies. No, maybe not quite make movies. It wasn't whether I wanted to be behind the camera or in front of the camera. I always like felt a little uncomfortable in front of the camera. That's something that I grew more comfortable with later. But I always wanted to like film and create content and edit. And I didn't really realize that I had this like knack and love for the outdoors. And that's where I should have been channeling all my energy towards until much later.
Yeah.
And I kind of came full circle on my first video on YouTube. Like, I don't know, whatever, 10 years after I had posted it. And there was this whole like span between when I posted that first video on YouTube, like the Miss Nabi video, and, you know, my 20s where I kind of like dicked around, you know, worked odd jobs and mostly as an entrepreneur for myself, or with like, you know, I did renovations and I did a few other jobs, but mostly self-employed. And I always knew that like that's kind of the direction that I wanted to. I couldn't work for anybody else. And I'm sure you know how that is.
Yeah. Well, you know, no, I joke around saying the reason I got into this is because I just suck at everything else. And I don't think I suck at everything else, but I think that there's some truth to that, man. Like I always, whenever I looked at a job or whatever, I'd always work as hard as I could at it, but I would never really be so engaged on it. And like, you know, from my understanding, that you had kind of a bit of a similar path through school where you weren't sort of in line with, you know, the average learning style of most students.
No,
you know, is that true?
Yeah, I mean, in elementary school, I was I got kicked out of class all the time because I was so hyperactive, and then eventually, like, I had to like change schools, and then kind of got my shit together in high school to get into university, but like it was never what I wanted to do, you know? And I, like, it was pursuing the...
What'd you go to university for?
It was like media, it's like glorified media studies degree. I really wanted to go into like radio and television at Ryerson, but I didn't get into that program. So I went to Western for like this, it's called MIT Media Information and Technoculture. It was like, it wasn't hands-on, it was like applied. And it was like, I hated it. I hated my university experience. It was awful. I mean, there was good parts. My favorite part was going on
and shit.
Sorry,
didn't you go to some?
Yeah,
good
I mean, the partying was fun back then, and I went on exchange in fourth year. To Singapore, and I traveled every weekend because I made a lot of money the summer before when I was working in China. So that was amazing, and did some like, you know, I climbed Mount Kinabalu and did some like a little bit of exploring through.
Did that kind of pique your interest and kind of say, okay, this is cool. I love this traveling. I love this kind of adventure related travel. How can I do more of this type of stuff?
Yes. So I filmed my Mount Kinabalu video. I filmed my Mount Fiji video. And I remember Mount Kinabalu is the tallest mountain in Southeast Asia. It's on the island of Borneo on the Malaysian side.
Wow.
And it's like this massive volcano. If you look at pictures of it, it's like, it's otherworldly.
Wow.
It's like a 2-day hike. You know, it's not like a mountaineering thing, but it's cold up there. But I filmed the experience, and I just remember afterwards, like talking to the camera. You know, I'm in my like early 20s. I'm talking to the camera, and I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, nobody's gonna want to watch this. Nobody's gonna care. Do you know, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and you're just talking to the camera. There's nobody on the other side of it yet, right?
Right? And I'm just like, nobody cares. Like, you're an idiot. Do you think you can do this? Like, and I'm just having all these self doubts. And this is concurrent. Like, this is reoccurring through my 20s,
right?
These self doubts, but I know in the back of my head, I'm like, YouTube is what I want to do. Like, I want to film. Like, well, that's like I want to do something creatively and video wise. And by that time it was kind of, YouTube was coming more into the forefront as like a career that you could do.
Right.
And so, I was like, oh, I could do that. That's like kind of the goal. But like, could I do that? Am I that person that could pull that off? And then,
so sort of second guessing yourself.
oh, huge.
Yeah.
For so long. And then I kind of tried some series through my mid-20s, like this van trip I did, and I just over edited it, never finished it. And then it wasn't until like, basically my 30s that Max started taking me. I started going on camping trips with Max again, filming those, and one or two of those kind of stuck. And I was like I've been camping through my 20s, but I didn't film as much of them. And it was like, oh yeah, like I love Canadian, I'm an Ontario boy. I love camping. I've been camping my whole life, like more now, but I've been camping my whole life. And there's like a market for it to watch people's camping trips.
Yeah.
And so
amazing.
So I was like, oh wow. And I had this one video in 2020 that stuck. It was like Max took me for my first winter camping experience. And that video got like 10,000 views in a few weeks. And then now it's at like 500,000.
Wow.
So it was like that video stuck, and it was like, okay, like this is it.
There's something here.
This is it. And then the next year, that's when I full on just throughout that year, throughout 2020, I did a whole bunch of canoe trips. And I started watching your content around then. There's like one shout out to you in a video where I like fell in the water one morning, and I'm like, let's all build a drawing rack.
The drawing rack. That's right.
Rack song.
Skip to my duty. Yeah.
And then I put like, I love Jim Baird in a little like pop up.
That's really, really weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm just kidding. I was going to say, so when I was on the Yukon, my clothes were soaked, and I had this kid's song in my head because my little kid's toy played the Muffin Man on repeat for like a month. And so I built this drawing rack, and I sang, let's all build the drawing rack. And what can I say? It might go platinum. But anyways, you know what crazy stat I heard the other day? Now, I don't know if you fall under this category, but a lot of people that don't have the typical learning style, didn't have the best experience, or were hyperactive in school, they have like ADD or ADHD, whatever they call it now. You are 300% more likely to be an entrepreneur if you have ADHD.
Really?
So people with ADHD are 300% more likely to be entrepreneurs than people without ADHD. Oh. And the problem is, just like you're talking about, you're second guessing yourself. Am I this? Am I really this person? Problem is, you have these brilliant people that are some of the people that start, the type of people with the minds that start the biggest companies and most successful companies in the world, make positive changes in the world, but also lead the life that's best for them. Unfortunately, have to deal with being reaffirmed that they're not okay, and they're different, and they're hyperactive, and something's wrong with them. And so it's a hurdle that people with ADHD or learning disabilities, or just don't fit into the typical school environment, have to get over.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that for sure I dealt with. I was, learning disabled and all that kind of stuff too, and ADD and all that. And, I was always one of the kids to put my hand up in class, but, I had to kind of overcome a little bit of self-doubt through subconsciously thinking that maybe I wasn't really that smart. Maybe I'm not really that smart. You know what I mean? So it sounds like that was a bit of a challenge for you.
Yeah, for sure. You're a smart guy. You're a genius. And by the way, like I mentioned it before, and Jim, you're perfect for this podcast thing, man.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Okay, keep going.
No, it's great. Like it's like you're gonna fit this role perfectly. And as soon as you told me that you were starting a podcast, I was like, yes, that is it. That's perfect.
This is it.
Yes,
this is the one.
This is Baird Country.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah, and I just I definitely. I see, for me, it wasn't so much that I thought I was stupid. I was just that potentially other people, or just surrounding what is stupid, was just because I was kind of taught, even though I always had my hand up in school, you know what I mean? I was kind of taught that wasn't really, the right way to do things, or I was wrong. I was different. You know what I mean? But, it's a good thing that happened to me, because it led me to the career path that it did, where if I was, doing things a normal way, I might've ended up doing something I didn't like. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can relate to that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I just couldn't sit still in school. Yeah, I mean, what they taught was just so uninteresting, and it just didn't seem like French class. I mean, now I wish I spoke French, even though
Oui.
good.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
Bon. But yeah, back then it was like they just didn't seem like it made any sense. I was in like special math where like for like advanced math, but even then I just like I didn't see a point of it. Yeah.
Nice. Special math.
Yeah,
So
special
you're,
math, like,
you're a numbers guy.
I guess, or at least at the time. And then but yeah, I mean, it wasn't until like well after that yeah, I mean, I just school just wasn't for me, and and I'm starting to question whether when I have kids, if I want to put them through, just public schooling.
Maybe allow them to be raised by wolves. That's what I'm thinking.
That'd be very cool.
Because like Romulus and Remus, they started Rome.
They started Rome,
and they were
the foundation for
on
all
wolf
society.
teats. Yeah, right.
My
Which
buddy,
apparently men think about multiple times per day. Yeah.
My buddy Clay, he homeschools his kids, and just
cool.
the way he does it is just like it's amazing. Like his one kid is into his one kid is pretty similar to Clay, and he's like into the outdoors and stuff. And they have this whole like homeschooling program when they teach them like taxes, and like
like basic stuff we should have been learning.
Exactly. Like I don't need to know half the stuff they teach in public school, and then his other kids really into like sailboats and engineering stuff. So they kind of like they push them into their focuses while also teaching them useful skills. The downside would be potentially not being able to form friendship groups,
social interaction.
Yeah, but I'm sure they have ways around that.
Getting them into sports, extracurricular activities, these kinds of things. Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of good things about that.
Yeah.
So when did you? Okay, so you started with this background of more camping, right?
Yes.
At what point? And then to me, it seems like you got into YouTube as an outdoors guy.
Yeah.
But you had this awesome background in filmmaking, right? I don't know if you would consider an awesome background, but much more. A lot of the people that are like, oh, I want to monetize my outdoor adventures. How am I going to do that? Well, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to use a camera, and you just bungle around with it for years until you learn a thing or two. You jumped into it with camera ability.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I imagine that picked up some of the slack where you're saying, oh, I'm kind of learning as I go along. Your ability to create a great film, maybe, made up for the fact that you might not have been, Adam Schultz or, one of these guys that are these canoe tripping savants.
Right. Yeah. Well, I picked apart some YouTube like content creators out there as to like how they filmed, and and I just kind of like emulated some of my, of not necessarily just outdoor people, but just like content creators. Yeah. And I came from I was always passionate about photography before I even got into video. So just like framing, things like that.
Yeah, they're the same, pretty much. Yeah,
it's the same. Yeah. And then just like the way I would tell a story would be, I mean, there's basic, you can look up on YouTube how to tell a story, and it's basically like, we're going to do this, and then you show you doing this, and this is what I learned. Very basic format. And then
it's X was so and so was trying to get to X, and Y got in the way.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
The word story gets thrown around so much,
right,
but nobody ever gives a definition of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like good way is like metaphors, or what's that? What's that like? What was that like? Or give me an example. You know what I mean? If somebody's talking about facts and figures, and you say, "Oh, give me an example," well, that's where the story lies. But I think that's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Tell stories, marketing, everything, but nobody really knows exactly what that means. You know?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I don't even know what it means.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm still winging
this
thing.
I can't even spell story.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah.
SCOR.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I'm seeing this like survival stuff, dude. Like you're getting out there, and you're a humble guy. You're gonna be like, oh no, I'm not really on alone and all this, boo boo boo. Which is obviously true.
Yeah.
But compared to the vast majority of people, you're doing some pretty badass survival shit out there, and you're filming it too. At what point were you like, okay, I like camping. I like to film my camping trips. And then, you film the Missinabie. That's, an expeditionary kind of trip. That's getting there. Pretty awesome. Remote area. At what point were you like, okay, I'm going to go out there and like not bring matches and sleep without a tent and do more survival based adventures?
I don't know what the turning point was. I don't. I think that people just started commenting on my videos, thinking they were survival type videos. I'm like, oh, what would that be like? Like, or what would it be like to, not bring a sleeping bag? And you see other content creators out there doing it. It's like, that's interesting. I wonder what that would be like. And you also see a lot of content creators out there. It's like, did they really do that? And what would it be like to actually do that? And then each time you just kind of like step it up. It's like, oh, I'll just go out without a sleeping bag and, positives, see how that feels. And then, oh, maybe next time I won't bring, matches or a lighter and see how that works out.
So you wanted to try to sort of test yourself, it sounds like.
Yeah. And it's all for like fun and for like, content, creating like a good video too while at it. What's like captivating? What's going to what's intriguing? What are people, what's like that child fantasy that like a lot of us have, what's like that, what would it be like if you're in a survival situation? A lot of
could I hack it as Huck Finn?
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of us as kids like think those things like, oh, it'd be so cool to be in that situation, like as like horrifyingly scary as it would be. At least I had these thoughts like what would it be like to be, Robinson Crusoe?
Right.
Just like on an island or, with only like a certain amount of supplies. And there's like a fantasy behind that a lot of people want to, be a part of an experience. And so to be able to push those things and also teach people while you're at it is kind of, I don't know, it feels good. And it kind of sucks. Doesn't feel good when you're in it, but,
is there a lot of type 2 fun with this sort of stuff?
it's all type 2 fun, but that's like the only type of fun nowadays. For me.
Nice. I mean, how does it feel afterwards? Like okay, so go into the woods for a couple nights, bring a tent, bring all your food, and sort of, you don't have to be glamping, but a typical kind of camping trip, sort of backcountry-ish. How do you feel after that compared to going into the woods when it's -20 with a sleeping bag, no tarp, and trying to sleep in between 2 campfires so that one side of you doesn't freeze?
What's the difference between a story and not a story? The one is like, oh, it was wonderful. The sun was out, it was comfortable, we ate nice food. It's like, oh, great. Oh man, I was freezing my balls off as it was raining and I was trying to, it was struggle through to make these fires and everything was wet and it was cold as heck. Like, oh, it's like one's like exciting, but in the moment you're like, get me out of here. And the other one is, this is nice.
So,
and then when you're done, the crappy, freezing, cold, uncomfortable experiences, and you got to go to your bed at home and you got to eat that food, like that takeout on the way home or whatever. And you got to, have a nice warm shower.
Right.
It's like, then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I do that. Yeah.
It like, just makes you respect and appreciate all that stuff way more.
Good.
So you're talking about stories. What's a better story? I think personally that maybe this is just my guess, is that as much as you like telling stories to your audience and you're going to do these things because it makes a good video, I feel like you like making your own stories. Is there some sort of level of passion behind doing these survival things beyond just making a good YouTube video?
Well,
I mean, you can be honest if the answer is yes, no, whatever.
I think it's kind of fun to just like accumulate skills, and there's no better way to accumulate them than by trying. I read a little bit, and I'll like watch content out there on people doing these skills, but you don't really take things in and learn them until you actually like do them. Right. When I was doing renovation, I used to like, I was self-employed as like a, contractor for a while. And I worked for this guy doing hardwood floors for about 2 weeks, and then he fired me, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go do this on my own. And I just went off and did it on my own, learned everything that I needed to while doing it. I just like sold a job and said, I'm going to renovate your kitchen. Here's the dream. Right. And then I just kind of like figured it out as I went. Nice. I read books as I was doing it, looked up YouTube tutorials and stuff, but it wasn't until like I threw myself in there that it's like, okay, you learn on the job. And if you want to get better at anything, it's like, you just do it. Don't think about it too much. Just go do it. And so for me, it's like, it's the same thing with these survival videos. If you want to learn skills, you just throw yourself into the shit. And then,
Did it take you a while to be able, because what you're explaining is put yourself in a way higher stressful state than most people are willing to deal with, who think they need to plan and calculate and do all this work, and maybe are a little bit on the perfectionist side, and they're too scared to kind of jump and grow wings on the way down, you know?
Well, you don't want to, there's like flow states, right? Where you're kind of like pushing the boundary of what, you know, you're comfortable with, where you're not exceeding that and you're like at a high level of stress. It's like, I don't think I throw myself so far in the deep end that I'm like gonna panic, and I think incrementally I'm just pushing myself a little bit more each time.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you love learning. You love learning. I couldn't agree with you more on that. Like getting out there. It's also really good to get out there and do these kind of survival type trips. Then you come back and read in a survival book what you just went out there and figured out on your own. Has that ever happened to you before?
Oh man, I just came up with this like cool new like sawhorse idea where I like used 4 knots and like tied an arm against a tree to like saw wood more effectively. I did this on this last trip. I'm like, I wonder if that's in a bushcraft book. You know what I mean? It's like I had to improvise while out there. And I think I'm like, I don't know if I came up with, somebody else out there has come up with this, but like discovering it independently is like so satisfying, right? Compared to when you just like, you know, somebody else's idea. Right.
Yeah. Which is fine too. I also like learning stuff from people like, you know, you that go out there, like just gear tips, you know, your zip off long johns that you had, freaking genius. Get up in the morning, it's like -5. You need your long johns. Then before you jump in the canoe, you got to take them off because it's hot out and you don't want to pull off, you know, just little stuff like that you learn from other people is always interesting, because there's a never ending amount of stuff to know. If you take every genre of the outdoors, you know what I mean? At what point does anybody know everything? I don't think so.
No, it's like like collabing with other YouTubers is it's only so beneficial for like, you know, growth of your channel and whatever, but to like hang out with other people is like you just learn so much. Like hanging out with you and Ted, like on our trips together, it's just you guys are such a you know wealth of information.
That's funny because we just like, I guess because we don't hang out with anybody, and you've probably seen this too, is that you just kind of are doing it and you don't realize that you've built stuff, and then so you don't really think, and that's probably why, you know, you get imposter syndrome as you get bigger or better and learn more and more about a thing. But yeah, I remember having a friend from the city here, and I'm like, let's light a fire, and I'm just like, light a fire. He's like, whoa, how'd you like the fire? Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, let's go down the river and fish. And I'm jumping from like rock to rock, and I'm like, stop, poison ivy. And he's like, whoa. He's like, how did you see that? And then I'm like, yeah, I just walk around, you know, I feel like I can just sense it. Like it's in my mind, the poison ivy. Then I walk down a bit and he's fishing there. And then I say, oh, come fish over here. And he looks at it, he's like, whoa, you know, what's this weird thing? I'm like, before I knew where he was standing, I just didn't even look. I'm like, oh, that's just the shell from a dragonfly larva stuck to the rocks. It's it's dead because they stick to the rock and the fly. You know, he's like, how did you know that, bro? Like, you know, I just know that he's like weirded out, but I know exactly where he is, exactly what it is. And he's like so blown away. And I'm like, huh, maybe I actually do know a thing or two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like too, just going out with you and Max, who have a lot of shooting background, like I started trying to shoot in 4K. I know Sean did it, some other guys I get out there and do stuff with, but you're like all 4K. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try this 4K thing.
And you
too.
upgrade your camera too.
I upgrade, because I smashed my Nikon. Remember, it wasn't doing me good.
And then I smashed your new camera.
And then you smashed my new camera. And then I smashed my XA30 Canon. There's been a few there's a pile of smashed cameras that were thousands and thousands of dollars at one point. So
I'm happy you got that resolved.
Yeah, I know I did. Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Can we just we need a puppy cam, by the way.
Yeah. North is lying on the couch. He's actually not allowed on the couch, but he's just taking advantage of me. You know, he's just going to cover it with. He's just going to absolutely cover it with dog fur. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I pet him earlier, and he's just like absolutely just like.
I know. I don't know.
Thick and knotted, and it's just like weaved itself into my clothing. Now it's like a part of my clothing, potentially my skin now.
Like, somehow it just gets like under the fibers and stuff.
It's incredible.
Yeah, he's a good dog. He's loving the winter.
Oh,
He
yeah.
just
He's
doesn't
chilling out there.
want to. Well, I mean, he's chosen to sleep outside. He's allowed to go inside, but he just wants to be outside all the time. Like, below -15 is kind of a little cold for him to stay, to lie outside and love it all the time. But yeah, he's a husky, man. That's what they're built for. You know what I mean?
Good dog.
Yeah, no, he's a good dog for sure, man.
Back to like it's just like each time we go out, it's like, oh, you pick up one more thing. You like each day, it's like you might learn 2 things, but you're out there for 10 days, you're learning 20 new things.
Yeah.
You do 20 trips a year, you're learning
20
times 20.
Right.
That's where I'm supposed to be good at math, 400.
Yeah.
It's like, that's like, you're just accumulating all this little information. Then when you hang out with somebody else, like when I hang out with you, who's been out there for, 20, 30 years, it's like, I'm like picking up stuff from you. I'm learning these little tips and tricks.
Yeah.
It's like, I did this little sawhorse thing that I use in my next video. It's like, I did 4 knots on it, like a square lashing, square knot, clove hitch, and then a trucker's hitch, right? And I put those all together, and I made this really solid thing to saw off a tree just using a sapling and like a stick. Made my life made sawing out in the woods like 4 times as easy, like and way more ergonomic.
Cool. Were you using the silky?
Yeah, the silky.
You gotta do the silky saw. You kind of gotta do something like that.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. It's so large, right?
Yeah, and you need to be in the right position. It's hard to just get into any weird angle.
Exactly.
And saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
But it's just like, somebody might be able to learn one of those knots at a time, but once you accumulate enough knowledge, it's like you can just do crazy kooky things.
Yeah. And knots take some time.
Yeah.
I forget, you showed me a couple knots that I've been using. What's the one you showed me?
The Venkich.
The Venkich, yeah.
Do you use it? Can you
use
use
it?
it?
I think so. Yeah, I think I've practiced
That's
that.
a good one. That's my favorite.
Yeah, they all take practice and time to learn too. It's hard to just bang it off your first time, right?
You just got to find a lamppost and just do it 100 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So after me, you, Max, and Ted all soloed the lower Magneto one.
Yeah, yeah.
Had an awesome trip. You and Max headed off to the Petawawa, which is arguably equally, if not more beautiful than the Magneto.
Oh yeah, so beautiful.
It's such a maybe not as hard in the whitewater though. There are some crazy rapids on it, but I was like, these guys are now soloing Rollway Rapid.
Yeah.
So like that's a scary piece of water. So Rollway's a 800 meter class 3-4 they call it because there's one drop.
Yeah.
That's a class 4 at the end, and it's kind of class 2, but you got to hit it right. You know. Yeah, so some people call it 300 meter class 3-4, man. And I'm just like, you guys obviously must have learned something from me because you went out there and you can solo the Rollway Rapid. I was impressed.
We went at like the right time. It was not too high of water, not too low water. Too low, it would have been too bouldery. Too high, it would have just been raging. So we kind of got it right in the middle. And my canoe filled up with water and got through it. But
it's definitely one that's good to do solo.
Yeah, I kind of think I prefer. Then again,
it's
I've
easier.
never
You just don't take in nearly as much water,
right?
You
just can't, make aggressive turns or whatever.
Yeah,
I just like to point the boat downstream and just like pray.
Yeah, well, when you're paddling tandem with a person in your bow, you just knife through the water. Where solo, you float up over the waves, so you don't take in as much water. Ted and I actually in lower water paddled Rollway, and we missed the tongue and dumped on the ledge at the end.
Oh no!
Yeah, we made it down the whole thing and without swamping or anything. I think we might have had a spray deck on though, but we dumped at the end, so we didn't make it. And but I just remember, and then I did it another time in a 17-foot prospector, and I kind of cheated down the side. Then that was an open boat, and I cheated it down the side and kind of caught all the eddies, and then hit the thing and eddied out. And I remember at that point, I'm like, oh man, like. Well, the first time seeing this, I was like, that you got to be super good because I didn't really get into whitewater till I was in my early 20s, like maybe like 22.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
It's like 30s, man.
Okay.
Yeah, my first whitewater was 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I've only been doing it for like 4 years now.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you're doing pretty freaking good, dude. I think so much of it. Would you speak? What is it? Is it just obviously the skills bracing, right? That's the thing that people don't learn so much is trusting that weight over your paddle as opposed to in the canoe.
Yeah.
Essentially using your body like an outrigger.
Right.
But what else do you think is a key thing when it comes to being able to have the confidence to just take your canoe, a tippy canoe, down raging whitewater rapids?
I feel like spilling the first time kind of gave me a little bit more confidence. It's like, okay, like I can recover from this. Learning a few of the paddle strokes, like cross bow draw, and just like playing in the rapids, expecting to expecting the spill
Yeah.
is like just so key.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just like, I don't know, you might not like take not necessarily the risk. You might not go for certain rapids if you don't know what it's going to be like if you spill,
Right.
or succeed, or if you don't have to use certain paddle strokes in the moment. And then just like, you know, going on different river trips. Like I think the Spanish is like a really good one to like learn on.
Nice. You've done that one?
Yeah, I think that was my first whitewater trip. And it's like class 1, class 2.
Right.
And that was my first solo trip as well, like in a solo boat. And that's actually, I picked up my canoe patches
Nice.
at that Outfitters for like $300.
Yeah.
Still going strong.
Do you ever just call it patch just for short?
Just like when we're just kicking at me on the boat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, buddy. Yeah, I think for me too, it's just, you know, beyond necessarily paddling maneuvers and skill, it's just like knowing what's runnable and what's not runnable.
Yeah.
Too. That's, you know, when you just start, you're sometimes wildly off base when it comes to what's runnable and not. Well, at least I was, and I've seen some other people, oh yeah, we could run this. I'm like, what? And then, you know what I mean? You probably get that you're portaging a waterfall and people in the comments are like, why don't you just run it, you pussy? And you're like, you would die. Like people just don't get it.
No, it doesn't translate well to video. You watch, like, GoPros are excellent for whitewater and they're excellent for biking videos. And people can sit there and watch mountain biking videos all day because you can see the lines these people are taking. You can read like what they're doing. When you're watching somebody in whitewater, unless you're like a whitewater guy and you're into that field, it's like you don't, like, the average person doesn't see.
And all the big moments happen so fast. That's why still photos look way crazier in whitewater than a video.
Right.
Because you're capturing that moment where they're and the waves coming in the canoes like this. But in a video, it just happens in a split second. You don't really get a chance to see what just happened.
Right.
Slow-mo's good.
Yeah.
For it. You know, slow-mo can work well for the whitewater. And also just running insane shit is what you have to end up doing.
Yeah, I seen some pictures of you running some insane shit. It's like, oh my God, Jim, what the heck?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I remember I ran the dam there and it didn't even look
funny.
that hard though, right? Like everybody's like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. And then it was like, okay, I probably could have done that.
I want to run that next time.
Yeah. You just got to hit the right spot.
Right. So you got to hit it right in that.
Right where the spillover dam is kind of eroded away at a certain point. And that's where the tongue comes out, right? Where it's like eroded away.
In the groove.
Yeah, right by the danger sign, the big red danger sign.
Next to the blood stain and the bones.
After you pass the do not enter floats. And the cottager who's telling you you're gonna die.
The old man who's just like, turn back.
You will die.
Danger.
Yeah, there's literally a dude did that. Told me that he pulled bodies out of there and all kinds of shit. And then I just I paddled past him and ran the dam, and you know, it's just makes it the story. We're talking about story.
To be the hero.
You know, X wants to do Y and J gets in the way or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like, you know, too bad I didn't capture that because it was fun.
It was probably like pre-cameras, right? When you started, you were just like, I had pen and paper when you started.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, we actually we just use smoke signals. Just kidding. Yeah. No, I didn't like, YouTube wasn't even a thing, right? So when I really started, so I didn't know how I could kind of get into it because it didn't exist.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I started doing stuff for magazines, right? And I ended up kind of hanging on to my own content eventually and doing YouTube, which is like much better than kind of selling my content before I even made it.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Which is, it was a struggle before, but I still like to write. You don't do any like outdoor writing and stuff like that, do you?
Oh, I'm completely dyslexic and inept at writing.
Well, that's what they're spell check for. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right. I look back at my journal entries and I'm just like, oh God, what the?
Is that a P or a Q? Yeah. I give up.
Yeah, it's like, but it's impressive. Me and my brother, we talked about like how you've kind of like hustled your way into this industry and you've been doing it for, I don't know, 15 years, 10 years.
You know, I've been full time for about 8 years now. My first expeditionary trip was 2005. And then 2008, I got my first sponsors, wrote my first article, and that's probably like 2009, 2010, where I got that gig at Field and Stream where they sent me on all these like crazy adventures and started teaching me how to film when the magazines were getting into filming.
Yeah, that's
Which
cool.
was kind of a gong show, but that was just like, I just cold called them in New York City.
Yeah.
2 Park Avenue. I was in New York City and cold called the editor in chief. Next thing you know, I'm sitting there with him and I pass him this story I wrote and this CD or DVD with a bunch of crazy pictures of wolves following me and shit like that. And he was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
You're going to be a star.
Yeah, we need this guy. Yeah. It didn't really work out
Hi,
because
kid.
it was like the budget was like out of control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah. It was a pretty good freaking experience, but then it wasn't till I started going full time, wasn't until I was on a loan that stuff really took off. And I see your stuff is sort of a lone type person would be interested in that.
Well, okay, I did
because it is survival and you are alone in a lot of your videos. And I know you do the canoe expedition videos, but some of them when you're out there, man, it looks pretty challenging. You're not bringing food,
Well, I have taken those notes from Alone. Like I did a survival course with Kylan, who was on season 7, and she just basically was like the first person to take me out with limited food rations and limited gear. And I just like hung out with her for a week and a bit. And she just taught me, because she's like so knowledgeable.
Right.
She's just like you. She's just like filled with all this information.
Yeah. She's kind of a badass.
Such a badass.
Yeah.
And spending time with her, it's like you just gain you learn a few mushrooms, you learn a few berries, you learn how to feel hungry, you learn how to do certain skills. And then it's just like I just take that info and just turn it into my own do my own experience. I gave her a massive shout out at the end of that video that I did.
Nice.
I do those videos yearly now, but it's like an Alone type experience, but it's like for myself. Like I've been asked to go on the show alone, and I don't think I'm not interested in the money. Money's nice, but that amount of money, it's like I wouldn't do it for the money. I wouldn't do it for the recognition or for like the popular like to gain fan base. I would do it for like the experience itself.
Right.
But if there's a chance that I don't know, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and I feel like taking time to go on alone might take too much out of my hustle. I mean, that could be very true, because sometimes television doesn't transfer. Like you don't necessarily get a whole bunch of subscribers, especially if you're not posting videos while you're away. Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed, and getting a chance to sit down with Wyatt Black from season 10, who is a runner-up, did extremely well. But as a kind of guy that it really wasn't about the money for him. I think that people that go out, even though they push themselves and they don't win, they still feel amazing about the experience. But people who are like, oh, I got to do this for the money, when they don't win, they're kind of like devastated.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I went out there when me and Ted pulled off season 4, I went out there definitely not full of myself, definitely not thinking, oh, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to win, sort of thing. I took it very seriously, you know what I mean? And I think that's the kind of thing, if you're going to do it, would you just do it and be like, oh, I'll hang out for a couple days and pull the ripcord? You'd want to really give her, and that's a big commitment, man.
Yeah, well, that's the only way I would do it. Is like I just want to push myself to see how far I can get. My fear would be a few things, but the main ones would be like, oh, there's like messing up my body,
right?
Just like,
which is a very real possibility.
I did 5 days without food, and I ate I got like 5 massive fish, and I was eating tons of berries. I still lost like 8 pounds,
right?
In 5 days.
Yeah,
my metabolism was fairly quick, so I'd have to like gain weight for that, and then I'd be out for X amount of time, not creating YouTube content, which is, pretty good lifestyle for me. And then the other one, what happens if I poop my pants, step in the poop, fall down a hill, break my leg, embarrass myself on TV.
Right.
And then everybody's like, hey, look at the poop.
And you can't edit it.
Can't
and
edit
then
that out.
After that, everybody, you're just known as Poopy Pants Xander forever.
It's awful.
Nobody wants that.
No, especially me. Somebody out there wants that. Well, they want my downfall.
They're gonna take stuff like that and play it up
and
too,
blow
right?
it up.
Yeah,
next time on Alone,
Xander shits himself. What a loser! Yeah. I'm not. They're gonna use. They have so much footage. They're gonna use whatever's the most engaging. So maybe sometimes they wouldn't, but. Yeah,
I guess you could go into the camera and edit that out.
That's true, but they tell you not to do that.
Yeah, but
one time I edited out just a trail cam that was just pointed right at my dick, And I was just, because you set up trail cams outside of your shelter. And I go out there and I'm just having a leak and I look and this is like a literally 3-minute shot of my pecker. I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking deleting this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like cold and wet and you're like,
yeah,
maybe you're not looking very impressive.
Right. If I was like impressive, I would have been like, okay, let's call in and
keep
tell
that
production
one in
about
there.
the great shot I got, right? Yeah.
No, I know the feeling. You're like,
make sure all the ladies see this one.
You're starving.
Yeah.
You're like dying up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you, man.
Yeah. So what do you see? Is there any other big trips that you'd want to do? Like, do you like the idea of doing like the shorter survival type trips, or would you ever kind of aspire to do like a 2-week kind of expeditionary trip in the Yukon or something like that?
Yeah, that's something I want to pick your brain about, whether on here or off air. But it's I've been dreaming of the Yukon. Yeah, and I've been dabbling into solo river trips, like pretty light stuff. Like I'm not running class 3 massive things with my spray deck, with a big like shots while I'm solo, like in the Yukon. Yeah. But the thought of being like really remote, catching some beautiful trout or whitefish, or
climbing a mountain.
Yeah, your
wildlife is usually pretty like more substantial. You see more.
Having a reason to carry around a shotgun.
Right. Yeah, right. So you can feel cool. Especially if you don't have never mind. Just, makes up for. Especially alone. You don't always need to. Like Adam Schultz never carried a gun.
Even in grizzlies?
Yeah, I don't think so. Just because he needed to travel so light and travel so far. Some people thought he was crazy for it, but you don't really, for the most part, need one. Yeah. I mean, your odds are pretty low. I like to take one just because it's cool, and also it's a good survival item if I need it, and also, it makes my wife feel better that I'm safer out there because you might get eaten by a cougar or a grizzly. It's not impossible, right? Yeah. So I do bring one, but for the most part, it's not a mandatory thing,
No, for sure. I mean, bears. I would use bear spray first, but say you do encounter like a grizzly bear, like you hear that story about that couple, right? And their can of spray was complete, like Dunzo. So it's like, what's your next line of defense after that?
You're screwed, pretty much. Yeah.
I always think like maybe I can use my hatchet, but like, I don't think so.
I mean, you could work on some jiu-jitsu before you head out. Maybe figure 4 dead hold and just choke it out, like stuff like that. Yeah, you know what I mean, realistically, you might want to try like an arm bar.
Yeah, play dead, climb a tree. Have you ever seen a bear climb a tree? They get up there quick.
They do. Grizzlies don't really, though.
No,
so that's good. Yeah, so that's also nice. But in polar bear country, there are no trees.
I know. I'm heading up there
for the most part. Oh yeah, where are you going?
Nunavut.
Oh, that's right.
2 times this year potentially.
Oh, no kidding. Tell me about it.
Well, you kind of helped us pick out this plan. Oh, my brother had this concept in his head too, but you guys kind of both had it independently. It was driving up Quebec into one of the islands of Nunavut.
Yeah. So essentially, the islands in James and Hudson Bay that are just off the shore of Quebec and Ontario are in Nunavut. The territory of Nunavut.
Yeah. Cool. So doing that. And then I'm flying to Iqaluit for 10 days to hang with a guy I met. His name is...
Oh, interesting. Is that an Inuktitut name?
Why am I blanking? Yeah. It's been a long, sleepless night. No,
well, you just got back off a trip.
Mike, why am I forgetting?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Statistics. Nobody's interested in this kind of thing anyway.
Yeah. So I met this guy, he reached out to me on Instagram, and he just invited me up to Iqaluit, and we're going to be filming some content. We're going to be doing like snowshoeing and dog sledding. Oh, nice. And seal hunting, perhaps, club a baby seal, take its pelt,
right, sell it,
the stuff that the internet loves.
Garbage, just kidding.
Keep the pelt.
Baby seal does like taste yummy though. I've never eaten seal, but I've heard it tastes pretty good. And seal in general is one of the abundant, it was like a very abundant food in the Arctic, super high in fat, super high in omega-3 and stuff like that. Right. So it's definitely something that, you can go out there and kill and eat. I don't know if it's if you need to hunt them, if it's a guided hunt,
Well,
like most people,
I would go with
other guy who's hunting
just,
them.
Yeah, it wouldn't be me like just going out there. And I don't even mind. Like, I don't need to kill anything. Like, it's
I've
not
never
really-
eaten seal before. I can't imagine it would be like blow my mind.
No, but
yeah.
interesting. I'd try everything as long as somebody's like, hey, that's good to eat.
Yeah.
Unless it was like, I wouldn't eat anything.
I kind of like a lot of different kinds of food. Like I've eaten some interesting stuff up in Nunavut and in Inuit country before.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
seal's not one of them, but I'd give it a shot.
What have you eaten up there? Like caribou?
Oh yeah, well, raw frozen caribou multiple times.
Like frozen?
Frozen,
You just like warm it up in your mouth? Like
no, you just eat it while it's frozen, just chew it frozen, you know.
Okay.
And then there's another one was muktuk, which is raw whale skin. I've also eaten raw porpoise skin when the guy was like cleaning up a porpoise in Labrador. Polar bear, freaking,
You've eaten polar bear?
Muskox.
Wow.
It's
like one of those Chinese like medicines where it's like
very rich. It's very rich.
Polar bear
but-
gives you
yeah.
strength, makes you
Yeah.
strong,
yeah,
makes you
right.
powerful.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
when in Rome, do what the Romans do, right?
Yeah,
And
of
so,
course.
You
Oh,
know,
that's
they hunt them and they eat them. So, yeah, fermented caribou stomach, even stuff like
Interesting.
that.
It
And-
gets you drunk.
no, not at all. They serve it with some raw caribou and they kind of roll it up and it just tastes kind of like blue cheese. It's actually really good. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah,
delicious.
yeah, it's all pretty good stuff. Dunyuk is the other one, which is just raw dunyuk, which is
Cool.
just raw fat off of a caribou.
Delicious.
It's very waxy. It's actually not. If you rend it, it's not particularly delicious, but
Okay.
some people love it. Yeah, but you get a chance to eat all these country foods up there. It should be pretty fun. And Baffinine is beautiful too.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous, man. Well, I would love to go to the peninsula, the national park there, but that's kind of for future.
Eowyntuk?
Yeah, that's like like see Mount Thor and all those like that
Yeah.
place looks insane, but that's for a different trip.
So one of the videos that I saw that was really cool is the one I think you met up with Clay Hayes, who was won season 8 of Alone, I think.
Right, yeah.
And you made a self bow out of a single piece of wood.
Yeah.
First of all, that's something I've like tried to do and just
Right.
kind of failed or just never followed through. But it's always been a thing on my mind that is neat ever since I was a kid, but have never done it. What was that like?
It was amazing, man. And like Clay like sat with me for like 3 days and like held my hand as he helped me build a bow.
So you built it with one hand.
Yeah. One hand in Clay's hand.
Yeah.
No, he was like that whole experience was so badass. Like
Yeah.
Clay reached out to me, which is like he's like one of those guys like after he won that season of Alone, I watched the whole thing. I thought to myself, I'm like, if I ever go hunting with anybody, it's like I would love to go hunting with somebody like that.
Yeah.
Or like Clay Hayes, right? And then
you
like
learn so much.
so much. And I commented on the video where like he like met up with his wife again on YouTube and it was like this and I was like, congrats, man. Like I loved watching you. He reaches out to me like later, like a few months later. He's like, hey man, you want to come down to like Idaho and go for a hunting trip? I was like, what the heck? Like Clay Hayes is reaching out to me. Like who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he did reach out to me and I was like, oh, I don't know. And he probably just gave up on me and called some other Canadian
You guys should meet up.
YouTuber.
You should have him down here.
Yeah, I should. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
man.
I'll tell him you're an okay guy.
So you filmed, thank you. So you filmed the hunt out in Idaho with him.
Yeah. So okay, well let's so we filmed a hog hunt, like a bow hog hunt
In Florida?
That was in like the southeast.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that was pretty interesting. That was like one of my first hunts. Then he had me up to Idaho to build that bow, and like that whole bow building experience was pretty dang cool. Like the guy's like that guy just like he puts all his like he puts everything he has into like learning something new, and he's got this like knack for like he's so skilled.
Right.
And he's so good at learning and he's so like passionate about like doing things and doing them well. He has like this truck that he has at home. Like it's like a Dodge Ram that he like extended the cab on it and converted it to be like to run on like French fry oil.
Wow.
He's like that kind of guy. He's just like, he's like an engineer of like, the woods. It's like, he's so intelligent and handy. And he's like, so cool to be around. And when it comes to bow building, he's like, I mean, I don't know anybody else doing that. Right.
Yeah.
Like they're like, now I've seen a few other guys on the internet do that, but like he started doing it back in the day when there's
Before it was cool.
before it was cool, before it was like on the internet. Now people can pick up these things like fairly relatively easily, but then back then way quicker.
Yeah.
But back then it's like he had to, you know, break 1,000 bows, and then he invites me down. He's like, hey, you want to like let's build a bow? Actually, it was my idea. I'm like, can we build a bow? And he sat with me for 3 days, helped me build a bow. And
did he say that he's broken 1,000 bows?
no, but he must have
Figuratively speaking.
100, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's got to be devastating after doing so much work and it just snapping after whittling one and all that.
I mean, how many would you give up on?
Yeah,
I'd
you give up once and never again.
Well, it didn't work.
Buying at the store.
Yeah.
Compound bow.
Yeah, and now I got this amazing Osage bow with all these like gnarly like.
So it's like a bit of a character bow. Would you call it?
It's incredible. It's like I use it for like LARPing all the time when I go meet up with my my wizard friend and my paladin buddy and my gnome friend down at the park, and we foam up all our weaponry and go at each other.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Are you serious?
Of course.
Okay. Are you going to get into LARPing YouTube videos? What is LARPing anyways? It's just dressing up like Gandalf and shit?
Yeah, I think it's like fighting. It's like, I have never done it. But I'm all for anybody expressing themselves in any way and having fun. I mean, like that's what life's about. Like just enjoying yourself.
You know what looks fun is like those medieval sword fights.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a good way for these guys to just get out like the nerd rage. You know what I mean?
It's like who wants like a concussion? Have you seen them like bash each other's heads?
Yeah, it's like they're not playing around.
No, they're like really seriously hurting each other.
Yeah. It looks like ridiculously fun though. Doesn't
it looks like
it?
fun, but
it's just like what you want to do as a kid. But now it's like they're like concussed, and that's not cool.
Yeah. That's I like jiu-jitsu is fun. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is fun because it's like you can go all out without like actually getting brain damage. But if you start boxing at a full tilt, it's like you kind of run the risk of like hurting your brain a little, and then it's like I mean, is it that fun that maybe I'm a little bit slower and I can't function as well a little bit in the future? And
not worth it.
No,
it's fun to watch though.
Yeah, it's to fantasize about too. You know.
Yeah. So you have trained in some jiu-jitsu?
I was doing Brazilian.
Yeah.
Doing a Brazilian jiu-jitsus a few years ago.
Cool.
Yeah,
how long did you do that for?
Yeah, like a year.
Yeah.
Like maybe not even. It was a lot of fun.
Right. So you're already prepped for Bear Country. Baird Country. You're ready no matter what happens. Figure 4 deadlock. That would be a hell of a podcast.
We'll start a backcountry UFC kind of Royal Rumble. We'll start a bushcraft ring, and we'll have people go at.
We'll hit each other with like bushcraft chairs. You know those ones like the triangles and stuff. You know, be amazing. Yeah.
Get like 10,000 views on YouTube.
Right.
Get canceled.
That's awesome, man.
So this trip in Idaho with Clay, he had me out. He had me out to the Rocky Mountains of Idaho for a late season elk hunt. He uses a muzzleloader flintlock, like old school thing, and I think he built the thing himself.
Wow,
it's like a kit.
Wow,
right? So he must have he fashioned the wood and put it all together, and the thing is like it looks like an antique. And we chased elk around the mountains for 7 days. We would, we set up camp, woke up at 5 a.m., started looking for elk the next day, like drove into the mountains, started glassing for elk, climbing mountains, and then we found some elk, and then we couldn't get to them that day. Came back to camp, 6 p.m., ate dinner, passed out, woke back up at 5 a.m. So we did this daily for like 7 or maybe it was 8 days, just nonstop. And
nice.
we got into elk every single day except for the first day. And we had a lot of opportunities, but things just didn't come together. But it was amazing just being able to be out there with somebody as like skilled as he was. And I feel like, it was nice being the cameraman. If I wasn't like a YouTuber myself, I'd want to be the film guy for, like some sort of adventure show, outdoor show, Nat Geo, something of those lines. So
you have to have someone filming you for hunting stuff because it just comes down to that like 1 minute, that one shot. And if you can't get it, I feel like it was very challenging on the moose hunting video I filmed to really get that, to capture that moment. I had the moose coming in, but it gets to a certain point where you have to put the camera down and you can't set it up because if the animal sees that motion, you're going to ruin this chance that you spent so long on trying to create. So you really have to have a shooter for stuff like that, you know?
Absolutely.
I didn't watch that one. Were you actually in the video or were you just filming it?
Yeah, he put me in quite a bit of it. I was going to film like a behind the scenes kind of my experience of filming a hunt. I didn't end up creating anything with it. And then Clay just did, you know, what he did with all the footage, and he kept a lot of me in it. So it was kind of like my experience and his experience. It was cool.
So you were elk hunting.
Yeah.
So what did you learn about elk hunting?
Elk. Well, you know, just where to position yourself with the winds. You know, we're chasing these like massive herds. So it was, you know, these things there's a lot of eyes and there's a lot of like things that one of them can pick up on, and they all kind of have this like sense amongst them. If one elk starts acting weird, they all just kind of like sense that. And so you just have to be so slow and methodical when you get close. But so there's like this, like, you know, hurry up and get there. And then like, once you're within, you know, range, you got to slow everything right down and, you know, make sure the wind's in the right position, make sure you have enough time in the day, make sure you're not making noise, make sure you're like keeping warm in certain times and wearing the right clothing and patience.
Right.
Patience. Cause like you can work like, you know, 8 hours to get to them, and then like, you know, move inch up to within shooting range over like, you know, an hour. There's one situation where we spent probably an hour and a half inching 50 meters up, like on our butts without shoes on, to be, you know, at a better range. And I just moved a little too quickly. And it just like, they just thought something was awry, and they just started to move out because like I was just a little bit too impatient.
And so all of them,
slow.
Yeah, and all of them just picked up and started following the last one.
Yeah,
out of there basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then that's it. That's your kind of chance.
That's it. Like the entire like drawn out day is like, you know, comes down to that like tiny little mess up, and there's no forgiveness when it comes to like wildlife either.
Was Clay pissed?
A little, but he's like, he gets it, you know.
Was he like, oh, Xander?
Yeah, he threw me under the bus hardcore.
Did he?
Yeah,
Like, he doesn't seem like that kind.
No, he gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a few moments that Clay left out too that, you know, it's his story. So he can, you know, but I get it. It's cool. And I'm happy to, you know, learn, like to show my mistakes and stuff. And I'm quite happy to be, you know, somebody that somebody learns from. And that's kind of continuous in my content. If I make mistakes, I'm very happy to just like, this is what I did.
Yeah, I mean, I put them in. Somebody's like, "Oh, I want to see the blooper reel." I'm like, "I don't think I have one because it's all kind of in there, right?"
Yeah.
Like, I had a recent trip. Our canoe blew away. It was a once in a lifetime windstorm. We found out afterwards, and crazy gale forces and stuff like that. Our tent was almost getting flattened. We had the kids with us. We were in northern BC, and woke up in the morning thinking that, you know, the canoe had been secured properly, and sure enough, it had, you know, broken free and blown way down the beach, blown into a stream, washed out into the river, gone.
Yeah.
And, you know, to wake up to that, and I'm like, well, we're going to keep rolling because, you know, sure, this is going to be embarrassing on YouTube, but you got to be able to show failure.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And, you know, the video like, did well in the end. So that's, I guess, your reward.
Exactly.
People actually watched it.
It's real,
and
man.
And you learn, you know,
real. It's
lessons
like
learned. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So did you end up to go hunting with this bow? So when you made this bow, you made it all out of a single piece of wood, not just like getting a sapling and bending it and making a bow. It's like a thick stave.
Yeah.
And you're carving the shape of a bow out of this.
Right.
And having to pull it back so that the limbs won't snap. Right. Do you know what poundage it draws at?
It was about just over 60 pounds at 30 and a half, which is you're probably 30 and a half, 31.
31, yeah, I think, yeah.
It was about 60, maybe 65, but it's kind of since gone down. It's maybe like 58.
Okay. Yeah. And so you went hunting with it afterwards?
I shot a grouse. It flew away with my arrow, unfortunately.
That's and you never got it back?
No, because we were in the mountains.
Okay.
And like I smoked it, and unfortunately it like set its wings and it was just gone. We looked for a while, couldn't find it. It kind of sucks. Yeah. You know, but that's kind of how things go. And, you know, when you're out in the woods and you're out to learn, like you learn things the hard way sometimes. And, you know,
the last thing you want to do is not be able to get the animal. But at the same time, there's other animals that will eat off of that as well.
Well, exactly, right?
So
That's the complicated thing about posting animal content on YouTube is everybody loves animals. Everybody loves animals. Like, I don't know too many, unless you're like a psychopath and you're just like,
right.
Yeah. So to see people shooting animals, it's like, it seems like almost like a selfish act, right? Whereas like if you're filming animals, it's like you're leaving the animals to themselves and you're also inviting the audience to experience that animal. But if you're shooting the animal, which people do for food, mainly, I'd say 99% of people who hunt are hunting to eat these animals.
Right.
But it seems almost selfish because that person's taking that life from existence and, just for food for themselves.
Right.
They are giving the audience like that experience of the hunt. But I know this is something I'm trying to learn with content creation because, hunting is a huge part of being an outdoorsman. If you get into like, long-term wilderness survival, like homesteading,
or if you just want to be able to survive one day if you need to,
right? Or just being it's massive. Like hunting is like a huge thing, and not to mention that it's an ancient practice that we've all participated in since the beginning of time.
Do you find it strikes the kind of a primal chord within you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say so too. And it doesn't mean that you have to kill something, but just getting up there, getting on an animal to where you could harvest it. Just there's something about that whole experience that's just like resonates deeply. You know what I mean?
You don't learn about a land or an animal in any better way than by trying to get as close to them as possible,
right? Yeah.
To be able to harvest them. And that's something I learned hanging out with Clay.
Yeah,
is like you learn so much about them so quickly by trying to get close to them. Even though in the end of the day, we didn't end up like harvesting an elk. It's like I just, grew a deeper appreciation for them and hunters and, the land by doing that. If I was just climbing those mountains, it's like, oh, cool, sagebrush. Oh, cool, we're at the top. Like, take a photo. Like, that's great. It's nice. Oh, maybe there's elk in the distance. Cool. But then, taking that, like, not just a step further, but like 3 steps further by trying to like understand these animals' movements in order to get close to them so you can ultimately eat one for survival.
Right.
It's pretty cool. It's like the killing of an animal is never there's probably not too many people that like actually enjoy putting an animal down.
Right. Yeah.
I know Clay doesn't like that. He doesn't actually enjoy killing the animal, but it's just a part of that whole the whole experience that has to take place. And some people might say, oh, why don't you just take a photo of the animal? Clay had a good point. It's like the stakes just aren't like high enough and the reward isn't as, meaningful. And I'm not going to say that Clay said that specific, like it was something like I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But, and I just like, it's one of those things that I've always been like drawn to, and whether I'm going to be a hunter in my future or if I'm just kind of learning about it, I just want to learn, and that's where I'm at with it. I still have yet to like kill and harvest an animal myself. I know that there's a part of my audience that is like, why
the
hurt
bunny
animals?
hugging crowd,
and that's cool. Like
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
As long as you're not like judging people. It is true. It's like if you're eating meat and you're supporting the factory farming system, like, and that, the amount of the carbon footprint, the amount of all kinds of other resources, pollution and everything that goes into that compared to wild meat is far worse for the earth than getting something from the forest. However, if everyone all of a sudden decided we're all going to eat meat in the woods, well, everybody wouldn't be able to eat meat because there wouldn't be enough deer tags, or if they all just went and started poaching, they'd wipe everything out too.
Right.
So there's too many people since we started farming too. But just on a core level, you're better off for the earth to sustainably harvest meat from the forest where there's a healthy population of whatever your query is, than buying it from the store. And there's all kinds of evidence to support that. Actually, there's an Outdoor Canada article in the last edition by a local guy, Steve, I forget his last name. He's a ice fishing guy from Halliburton. Really interesting article, which is just a snippet of the larger 4,000 word essay that he wrote on that too. I was thinking about having him on the show to kind of dive into that a little bit more. I just feel like it just feels great to have a full freezer. My wife's like, you know, this is amazing. I don't need to buy meat. And you know what I mean? I've, you know, having a full freezer for years on end, you're eating healthier meat, you're feeding your kids healthier meat. You know, that's the trophy, is just like, look at what I provided. And they say that just looking at red meat is relaxing for men. Because, you know, because it's that ingrained. So if you're ever feeling stressed out, just go into the meat section of the store and just stare at a bunch of red meat, and you'll just be like, okay. You know, and it's true. This is true, because it's so ingrained, because red meat means, okay, my family's going to be fed. You know, we're not living tooth and nail. We're going to be good for a little while because we have this food. You know what I mean?
Meditating, you know, and working on breath work, and all I had to do was go like, look at red meat.
Just Google some pictures. It's true. But you know, I do like hunting, but you know, like for example, somebody like Wyatt, where that's their main thing. That's kind of sometimes part of the bigger trips that I do. You know what I mean? I love doing the big expedited canoe trip. So that's kind of like sort of secondary to me doing those hunts. But yeah, I still think they're awesome. You know what I mean? Good thing to learn.
Yeah, it's like I want to experience it from from start to finish. I've still yet to harvest an animal. Like I shot a grouse, flew away with my arrow. I've eaten somebody else's grouse. I've eaten game. I've not taken my own.
Maybe we'll have some of Tori's venison lasagna after this.
That sounds great.
It's freaking delicious, dude. It's so good. The venison's got like a stronger flavor,
right,
than the beef, and so when you're mixing it with, you know, all the other stuff that goes in lasagna, I don't know how to make lasagna. You know,
there's some
cheeses
flat
and
pasta and stuff.
No idea. Tomatoes, right? It just that strength, that meat just tastes way better. Then you go eat like regular beef lasagna, or if you consider that regular, you can be like, where's the flavor? You know what I mean? That's what I noticed anyways. I got some delicious venison sausages here. We had a good hunt this year just downriver. I took my freighter canoe in with a little 5-horse, 6-horse on it. Yeah, we ended up getting into a really kind of sneaky little spot where nobody else sort of hunts around, just on Crown. And
you said you got on your last day.
Yeah. It was pretty good, man. It was my brother-in-law got it. It was his largest deer he's ever got.
Nice.
Yeah, of course he just showed up, and I just like flagged the trail. I'm like, stand here, and he just blasted it, and he felt bad. I'm like, we don't care about that kind of stuff. I was in there. He's an experienced deer hunter too. Yeah. He's gotten, you know, more deer than I have. He's been doing it for years, and yeah, I like that aspect of it. It's also one of the things that I don't film. Like I do find that I kind of, you know, I don't want to knock what anybody else is doing, but I do find like if you're trying to make it as a hunter, as like on a TV show or on a YouTube channel, and you can't wait to shoot an animal so you can plug a bunch of products, you know what I mean? It kind of feels maybe a little disrespectful. And there's probably all kinds of guys that do that aren't bad people at all. But, you know, the last thing I want to do if I like, you know, harvest some animal that I'm grateful for is rattle off all my sponsors and prop all these products up on the animal and pose beside it. You know what I mean? It just, it just sort of feels like it's take something away from it. I know those guys kind of have to do that, and they're finding a way to lead their passions, and they're eating the meat and all that kind of stuff too. But I you know, something about me just thinks that's kind of not my way. So if I'm going out there and filming a YouTube show for money, is that wrong? I don't think so. You know, I think you're sharing an adventure with people. You're finding a way to put meat in the fridge, and I don't really have any moral qualms with it personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you know, no matter what, you're not going to be everything to everybody. You know what I mean?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You're going to find haters the bigger you get. And
like my last video, I sang the Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond, which I love. I don't know if you have a Scottish background, but yeah, it's this famous Scottish folk song, which is about an old war, and one guy's about to be executed, and the next guy's going to be left to go home, and it's kind of deep and sort of thought provoking. And I got these Scottish guys that are my comments like, "Lad, I'm from Scotland, and when I heard you sing the Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond, it put a tear in my eye." You know, and I like bunch of guys like two guys saying that. Then another guy's like, I was watching your videos, I thumbs up. As soon as you started singing this song, this Banks of Loch Lomond, unsubscribe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like this guy's crying and this guy's
yeah,
angry and unsubscribing. What do you know what I mean?
You can't please them all.
Right, exactly.
There's always going to be dislike. You can't like I don't even bother. It's like your first time getting a disrespectful comment. It's like, oh, okay, I have to change myself, and then later you realize that there's a lot of people out there with
and the
strong opinions and different opinions, and they're all over the map, and they could even just be crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a way I heard it the other day, which actually really helps me emotionally handle. Right. First of all, you were the one that said, when you start getting these negative comments on YouTube videos or social media, it's because your post is blowing up and it's being recommended to people that don't understand the context. But I heard a great, somebody put it, I forget who this was, but they said, okay, not easy to deal with. Oh yeah, when everyone's got hate, when you got haters, that means you're doing well. Be thankful. Yeah, okay, great. Wait till you get there, and you're just like, oh yeah, buddy, oh fuck yeah, and you're like typing in your phone, you're like enraged, right? I know. Sometimes I get like that, and sometimes I just don't say nice things.
I usually say nothing. I got one today.
Just skip it.
I posted that picture of my hunting, like following around Clay with. Like as the videographer for his hunting trip, I talked about my experience being a videographer and how wonderful it was for Clay's hunt. And somebody commented like, you first talked about mental health, which is like a very serious thing that I talk about occasionally on my channel. Yeah. And now you're showcasing guns. I'm like, I don't get how those two things are relevant.
Weird.
Like what? Yeah. Like so if I talk about mental health issues and in myself and where I'm at as a human, and then in a different post I show a picture of my friend on a hunt with a gun, that somehow those
like isn't this a great way to help with your mental health issues? Get outdoors and go hunting and shit. Like all these people that's a great way to help with it. But maybe he's saying like, oh, maybe people are going to shoot themselves or something is what he's getting at.
I don't know. It's like I'm just talking about how like I struggled for a time and then I've since improved and this is how I did it. And then I went on this hunting trip separate. Right. I'm not. It was just
some
a
people just
comment.
Don't understand, man. And it's like, suppose you're walking down the aisle in the grocery store and you're carrying some stuff and some guy just walks right in you, bumps into you, knocks you back, you drop your stuff on the ground and it seemed totally crazy, brazen and intentional. And you turn around to say something, you see the guy's blind.
Right. Yeah.
Are you still as mad? And that's kind of a metaphor to understand these people who are just blind in some way. Yeah. No, you would feel bad for that blind person. Right. So it's a good way to just remind yourself that, train your mind when you see these negative comments that that's kind of who they are. At the same time too, like if you're going out there and blasting and you're doing a trophy hunting channel, but you're going out there, you're talking about nature, you're talking about the animal, you're not interested in just the horns, you're doing it for food. You're learning a skill that's something more meaningful. You have respect for the animal. That's a very different thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? They're just going and blowing away stuff for fun. But, I still like the hunts, they're complicated, but my big thing still is my like big canoe expeditions.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And I think honestly,
what you got coming up?
Well, I'm going to go up to Nunavut this year. Nunavut seems to be a place to go. Yeah. And then Tori and I, and with
John's
the kids
also going up to Nunavut.
Oh, is he? Awesome. Yeah. And me, Tori, and the kids are going to go to the Yukon as well.
Nice. Yeah.
And I'm doing some other things, but, and I think when it comes to survival, doing some of these expeditionary trips, like the Heart River I did in the Yukon, it's very remote. It's still challenging, but it was beautiful weather and everything. Yeah. But like doing the one where, the northern Manitoba one, me and Ted did, or the one where I canoed across northern Quebec and Labrador, living off the land.
That was my favorite video you've ever put out. One? Yeah, where you guys had to like hunt and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Buddy. I watched that, I started watching that at like 1 a.m. Yeah. And I finished the whole thing. It was like, I was just like so into it.
Cool, dude. That was like my favorite. It was probably one of the hardest trips I ever did, but like so awesome.
Yeah.
And that I think on average is what's going to give you the skills that you need to win a show like Alone. More than like military training and more than like not all like the kind of hunting Clay does. Like you can't break hunting down in one thing. There's people that bait deer and hunt off their back porch and shoot them with a gun. And then there's guys that go for a week at a time or longer in the mountains with a bow hunting elk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's more like an expeditionary kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you have to make it from point A to point B with all kinds of horrific obstacles in your way, while living off the land to an extent, I mean, what could be a better practice for survival, for real survival, you know, with or without a tap out button,
So cool.
than doing something like that. I think that it's doing that kind of stuff is what made you win alone. What gave me the skill to win alone. You know, like you know this too. It's the ability, like, I bet you when you started going out, when you're younger, you started doing this stuff. Have you noticed your ability to tough it out more now than before?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, I mean, it all works out in the end, or you die. So it's like, who cares either way.
Yeah. Well, why do you think you're able to tough it out? What makes you tougher now to deal with, say, something as simple as like a soaker? Why do you not care now but used to care, or bugs, or whatever it might be?
Because the relief from those bad experiences is so enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like you put yourself into like a really cold situation. Like the best part about being cold is when you get warm at the end of the day, or the best part about being wet is when you dry. So it's like usually the misery comes with, you know, the relief at the end, and relief feels incredible.
Right.
And it usually comes, or you die. So it's like, I think at this point, it's like, I'm probably not going to die soon, and I'm not pushing myself. Sorry.
I think somebody's here.
Yeah. All right, that is all good.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing myself to such a degree that I'm at risk of serious bodily harm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could probably more dangerous driving up to your camping trip than doing it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So, yeah, I mean, just experience, you know, baby steps. Like I didn't throw, I don't know if I've like jumped in the deep end on any trip. Maybe some people think I do, but it's all calculated.
Right.
Not like perfectly, like I improvise all the time, but it's like I have some idea in mind of what I want to do, and you know, weather permitting. I've had some really shitty nights, but you get out of those and you just remember, like, you know, how miserable it can be, sleep without a sleeping bag, and like, you know, the negatives. It's just like out there on the snow, or just like on like spruce boughs, but you know, you get through it and you're okay. You know, at the end of the day, you come home usually.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I mean, I've always come home. Have you ever not come home? I mean,
well, I mean, who would be doing this podcast?
Right. So,
right. Like
or you're dead. Right.
Right.
And we all will die.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think for me, if I die on camera, like, I don't know. It's like, I want my family to like make a Xander Budnick video.
Make a video, or
and
just
then
do a
show my
time lapse
death.
of you slowly rotting.
Oh, imagine oh god. Okay. I don't know.
Sorry, bro. Sorry, that got dark. That got dark.
But
quick.
like, no, showing my footage of like normal Xander Budnick camping video, and then there's just my death at the end. It's like, but if I weren't to die on camera, it's like I have like a few deaths that I would, like, a few burials. I don't know why we're going here, but
yeah, we can. How would you like?
I used to think I wanted to be shot into space, but now I love
Hunter S. Thompson.
I used to think I wanted to live amongst the stars, but Earth is home. you
Right.
know?
Good point.
So
It's a Kermit the Frog song.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't want to live on the moon. It's actually gorgeous, brilliant song.
love the
Seriously,
Muppets.
yeah, it's actually amazing.
check it
Yeah, it's great. What was I going to say? So to me, it kind of sounds like you're saying when you learn something, you learn that you don't need to be, when you need to be afraid of it and when you don't need to be afraid of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've been in any real
like,
serious situation.
Is that, I guess it kind of sounds like sort of like what you're saying, like, okay, I'm cold right now. Well, I have enough experience to know that it's not cold enough to freeze to death. And I know that I can light a fire and get warm. Whereas before that experience, you might say, ooh, I really don't know if that I'm going to be, I don't know if I can get a fire going, or I don't know if I'm going to freeze or not. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it sort of sounds similar to what you're saying, you know?
I mean, I went to, like, last night I was in, last 2 nights it was -20, and I got like really cold at some points, and I just knew to like throw on a coat, but like my hands were still working. I was fine. You know, it's like,
Were you moving around a lot?
yeah, of course. I don't know. It's like, I haven't been in a situation where it's like, oh, fuck.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
You know, maybe a little bit of that, like getting my car broken down in a bad spot. But it's just like, I just have to deal with this.
Right.
Just like, okay, here's another headache. It's not like
I'm actually in serious danger.
in serious danger.
Yeah. It's just a giant pain in the ass, basically.
Yeah. It'd be like like nights coming in, you're wet. I mean, what would you do? It's like the cold nights coming in, you're soaking wet. What do you like? You can't start a fire. You just like do push-ups all night
in the Arctic. Well, yeah, that's the problem. You can start working out. You can start exercising, but that's only going to last until you run out of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And so you can't last the whole night just sitting there moving,
especially
because eventually you're going to be so exhausted, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's why they say in the Arctic, you don't want to sweat too much, right?
Yeah.
Because if you sweat too much, your base there gets cold. Then when you stop moving, you can freeze.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you go up to Nunavut, you're going to try to drive on James Bay out to an island. And that's Nunavut, right? But you might not make it. You might have to start walking.
Yeah.
Are you scared of polar bears?
We're gonna bring a gun.
Yeah.
Bangers and stuff. But we're gonna have our truck,
right.
or unless we're walking. Yeah, the polar bear thing kind of freaks me out a little bit.
How far is the island? I never even looked. I'm like, just drive to Nunavut, man. Peace out.
4K. Tried to reach out to like a guy up there. Mm-hmm. He never got back to me. I tried him on all platforms.
Did you try like the mayor?
No.
Try the mayor. Try like City Hall. Yeah. Cool. Try like the town hall or whatever.
It just sounds so like.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
That's because it's a small community.
Reach out to the mayor.
People will probably be so stoked that you're coming up to do that. They'll probably be like so welcoming. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I had somebody reach out from Fort Rupert on my messages and just saying like, "Hey man, come to Rupert House. Blah blah blah. We're gonna do this and that." Like I think they'd think it was cool. You're doing some trips with your brother more now, eh?
Yeah, man. That guy just like, he kind of got me going quite a bit. He's the brain guy. Like he's the ideas guy, at least in terms of trips. He's got like all the rivers, all like the lakes and cool areas that he's looked up. And I was like, I just hit Max up. I'm like, hey man, like I'm looking for I want to do 2 nights. I want to like bring this gear. And then he's like, oh, you got to go to this area.
Right.
Cause I'm looking at the weather. Cause like, that's how I like to film my content, like cool, interesting weather. In a nice spot, cook some delicious food, or like do something kind of like interesting.
Make a story out of it that's a little more than just Xander goes camping again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so Max just has like all these cool ideas, and I like to bring him along. He's a nice guy, and we get along. So
yeah, and he's doing YouTube quite a bit now too, right?
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah, some super nice shot. He has a lot of ideas on how he wants you to fly the drone. I've noticed because he doesn't have a drone.
Yeah, he's got a drone now.
He does. Oh, that must be a relief.
Yeah,
because I noticed he had like a lot of Xander the shot like panning, tilted a bit to the left with us walking, and you're just
the worst backseat drone flyer.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's just funny because it's such a brothers thing. I can like relate to that relationship that you and him have.
No, he's good. He's a good guy. We talk all the time. We talk every day actually. Just like, hey man, what you doing? Like, hey, this is what's up with me. YouTube. I don't know. I love talking YouTube. So he's like one of the guys.
Did you have it's so true. Yeah, my brother too, because he's in YouTube, right? So Ted will go off and talk about this and that, and Ted's knowledgeable too. He's like more of a research guy, where I'm kind of jump into stuff guy. So I'm more of like a bull in a china shop. He's sort of like a little bit more calculated, I think. Right. But so when I do notice something when I see these kind of outdoor YouTubers that are canoeing these large distances. They all tend to be pretty big people, like fairly strong. Yeah, tall, strong kind of people.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I guess because maybe you'd be more drawn to it if you're not going to break your back to carry all your stuff if you're smaller.
I have no idea. You're 6'4", 6'5"?
I'm about 6'5", yeah.
Yeah, I'm 6'3", 6'4". Like John's the same height as me. Brad's the same height as me. Max is the same. Max a little taller than Max.
Yeah. Well, there's just strong, like stocky types. Like the Voyageurs were like 5'4", but they were like built like brick shit houses.
Yeah, those guys are a different breed. I need to know how they deal with the mosquitoes.
Yeah,
like I just need to know because how do they just suffer through?
I think they meditate.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So like. They used to just sleep under their canoe with a little tarp, prop their canoe up on the side and a tarp like this, and just sleep under with all the bugs on them. I think it's just just allow the bugs to land on your face and fly away.
Some
And allow them
early
to
day.
land and just slowly just sleep through it and just sleep through the night with potentially getting 1,000 mosquito bites on your face.
Some early day Buddhists.
That's what I think. If I was on a lone through like at the heart of mosquito season, that's where I think I would really crush alone, because like I can just handle getting riddled with mosquito bites better than the vast majority of people out there.
Yeah, I don't itch anymore. It's just when they like get into your ears and just,
Yeah, that the ear thing.
the ear thing is just like
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
I don't know. Maybe I need some more like mosquito therapy. It's like when you're like exposed to like your fears and you overcome them. I just need like I'm not afraid of mosquitoes. I just need more mosquito therapy so I can just harden up.
Right.
Like
yeah.
really
Harden.
harden
And
up.
the other thing that works is just pretending that you don't care with just like a toxically masculine attitude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care at all, but really you do.
Yeah.
And then eventually you just like actually don't. My uncle, so my mom's cousin, actually, when I was a kid, he's like, what you got to do is you got to go and you got to make a deal with the mosquitoes. You got to go into the woods and you got to lie there with just your underwear on and let hundreds of mosquitoes bite you all at once. And after that, it's like the mosquitoes have like taken this from you and now they will never bother you. Almost like literally he phrased it as like, you give this away to the mosquitoes and then you'll never be bothered. Like it was a conscious dealing, like a deal, like a handshake deal, right? But it did work. Like I went and did that and I've been immune to mosquitoes ever since. I don't really get swollen. I notice when I go to other places that I'll get swollen up a bit at first because the mosquitoes,
They're different.
yeah.
There's like thousands of different types of mosquitoes.
Right. Yeah. All kinds of different weird looking ones and stuff like that.
Just go into the woods and make a deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they, if you get swarmed by like, say like the 1,000 mosquitoes, like 5,000 mosquitoes that are there in that area that night, do you just like let them all take you and then
you just lie there and you just let yourself get like probably 200-300 mosquito bites. Don't swat them. Just lie there for a while and
then they
feed
go away.
a bunch of mosquitoes. And then maybe I forget what I did. Maybe the mosquito feeding time came to an end and I walked, back to the cabin or whatever. I forget. Or I just got the hell out of there.
You just let them have their way with you.
They did. It was weird. Their proboscises were just going crazy.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. We can, it's not a Me Too thing. Yeah. But a lot of mosquito proboscis penetration out there.
There's something about mosquito. Yeah. Anyways,
black flies I find to be even worse.
they just go in your nose and your eyeballs and it's just like, come on.
By the time you're like about to die, it's already too late. You don't see it coming. Your whole face is swollen.
Yeah. They're like,
yeah.
it's just like, they're like concentrate right here.
Yeah. Do you know a time where the bugs were the worst?
What do you mean?
Like, what is the worst you've ever been eaten alive?
I haven't even got it that bad yet,
really?
To be honest. Yeah, I've been fortunate in the last few years to kind of dodge the mosquito season by being too far north and then coming south when they're done. I've been really lucky that way the last 3 years. Did we have them? We had them on the mag a little bit.
We did, yeah.
Just a little bit though.
The time me and Brad Jennings did the upper mag and then me and Ted did the lower, they're really bad. I remember that
video, yeah.
Brutal. Yeah. But nothing that you could remember like, absolutely being killed.
Right.
You don't have anything like that? No. Nothing where
just
you
mosquitoes.
Clap and there's like you killed 10.
Yeah, a little bit, but like mosquitoes, I've had some real bad mosquito experiences. Yeah. But other than that, no, the black flies, like that's why I think mosquitoes are worse for me with black flies. Throwing a head mask and then you have a long sleeve and you're pretty much good with mosquitoes.
Around here.
Yeah.
I would say, but when you get to somewhere where the black fly is like real bad, like Labrador, northern Quebec, where you just get hammered, you're like, okay, it's official. Black flies are worse than mosquitoes. Ted made that swap. I saw that happen with him because he was like, black mosquitoes are worse than black flies. I'm like, no, it's the other way around. And finally, he's like, it's official. Black flies are worse, and he totally changed his brand affiliation. Yeah,
I haven't been exposed enough then.
No. Well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me to live a very for me to live the life that I want to have like a whole host of experiences,
right?
Good or bad. But like, so to experience like very heavy black flies and also to experience heavy black flies is like something I want to experience. But not only that is like to experience very heavy black flies when you go into just like, an experience with just light black flies, you're like, oh, this is nothing.
Right.
This is great.
So kill yourself, and then nothing else can ever feel as bad, sort of thing.
That's why it's great to go out on a rainy day, you know, like when it's pelting rain, you learn to deal with that situation where it's like absolutely devastates you. And then you just go on something like light rain. It's like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
This is actually like great. And this is not just great. It's like, this is better than just like a sunny day.
Cool. I like that. I like that philosophy.
Yeah.
You know, just toughen yourself up, callous yourself to it. And it's sort of like, that's kind of like what that survival skill is that, you know, I've talked about before, but it's sort of like, you don't care anymore because you've already you've put yourself in front of these really challenging situations. And now when it's less challenging, let's say you've been outdoors days on end in this driving rain. Now when it's just drizzling, nobody that hasn't had the more intense driving rain for days experience is going to be as chilled as you are in the easy rain. You'll be having fun, and they'll be like, oh my God, it's raining so much. And you'll be like, this is nothing.
Exactly.
You know, and there's no way you can like take a course or read the survival books with all the like drawings of shelters. There's no drawing of like how to just toughen up. Like how would that little diagram look? You know what I mean? Like it would have to be metaphoric.
Be a
diagram.
Dude covered in like rain, you know, but like also like his bicep, like I don't know.
Yeah, here's how to deal with it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So so you've been doing YouTube 4 years now. You're putting out 3 to 4 videos a month.
Yeah, I'd say 2 to 3. I tried every week, but now it's like I just can't.
Well, you're also to your benefit. You're taking one big trip and you're moving it all into a single video, which I do sometimes. But for my longer trips, I'm doing like a video a day. You know, I do a 14-day trip. I'm doing like 12 videos, let's say, roughly from a longer trip. But you take some of these longer trips and condense it all into one like epic piece, right?
Yeah, as well. They just play better. I mean, I find if you do episodic episodes, people tend to lose interest over the course of them. Me and John kind of figured this out. Yeah. So just to have like one big video, it just does better. Yeah. It has higher views and it doesn't look like it's trailing off.
And that kind of makes up from your income, but also makes up from just your traction than skipping a couple weeks a month, let's say. Because I don't always put one up every week. I try to always get one up every week. Yeah, but you know, maybe I don't have enough time to edit all of them down. So if I was going to do it like you, I'd definitely have to spend more time editing, doing more trips too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, when you're doing those like big 12-day trips, I personally think that things should be a little bit more condensed. Like that's just at least the way I like to watch content is probably like a little bit more condensed, and that's how I kind of create my content.
Right.
As opposed to something a little bit more drawn out. Like I like it when there's information. I like it when there's, you know, a fun story. I like it when there's beautiful shots, but I don't need, you know, 5 of those beautiful shots. You know, give me like the 2 best ones. Give me like the 2 best informational tips, and give me like that story that's like like the bread and butter. Yeah. Right. And just give me the package, because there's a lot of YouTubers, I think, that there's a lot of people out there that just want to see the whole thing, right? But there's only so much I can watch of somebody, you know, on a portage, or, you know, watching somebody paddle a lake, or I mean, this can apply to any piece of content, right? But there are people out there that just want to see every little bit of the story.
It does get a little redundant, even for me to edit when I'm doing 24 days in Manitoba. We're eating pickerel every single day, cooked like the exact same way. It's hard to come up with creative ways to shoot it and edit it to make it look, you know, a little different and keep the audience engaged. Yeah. So I think you do amazing. It's a huge, people don't realize that it's a lot easier. Let's say you have, you know, all this footage. It's a lot easier to make a longer video out of that than a shorter video.
Yeah.
You know, so the ability to condense that in editing is a challenge that you manage to do. But what is there anything specifically, like what kind of keeps you going when you know, you got this, a job, you're an entrepreneur, you have this thing that you have to keep feeding that content machine. You have to keep getting out there and doing more adventures. Is there anything what is it about it that excites you, that keeps you engaged and keeps you going when it comes to content, when it comes to the outdoors and the whole package?
People, I get so much from people's comments and just like the joy that I give people.
Yeah.
And the personal responses that people, you know, give me, and how they've started like a passion for the outdoors because they saw my videos, or I've given them peace by them watching my videos. And that's, I don't know, it's such a wonderful feeling. And I'm somebody who seeks novelty. So I can't just do the exact same video each time. I gotta like push it, make it something a little different, even if it's like within the same kind of 2 nights tarp camping. It's got to be like a different spot, different objective, and you know, even when you, so those things keep it interesting. But it's also like there are so many jobs out there that are just. I'm so lucky to be doing what I'm doing. And so I just don't take it for granted.
Right.
You know, so it's like,
so just that keeps you from going, how lucky you are.
Every day.
Yeah.
I like every day I do feel like very thankful. And I think I do feel this every day. You know, I take time off when I need it. I go do the jobs that I want to do at times I want, and I feel driven to keep working. Yeah, no, I'm very, very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in.
So you share and helping brightening other people's day is what kind of your driving, what helps inspire you in return to then help inspire other people through your content.
Yeah. And also just like YouTube metrics that, like, you know, showing that it's fun to create a piece of content that, you know, gains attention, holds interest, gets responses, and creates value.
Right.
And that's like in a certain niche. And for us, it's like outdoor, which is just like amazing. So not only can we go on these cool adventures that are life-changing, teach us, you know, valuable skills, like gives us, you know, personal development, and, you know, breaks us down and beats us up and builds us up, and just doing these trips that people might only get to do like once a year, once every decade, but we get to create a piece of value out of that. We get to go out, live an experience that's not everybody's even just this trip that I did last night, you know, just 2 nights tarp camping in -20. Not a lot of people are ever going to experience that. And then so to be able to experience that for myself, which, you know, having a whole host of experiences in my life is very valuable to me. And that's what is a key marker of me, in my opinion, of having a successful life, or like a fulfilling life. Not only do I have that, but I'm also creating a piece of content, which is like a valuable piece of substance. Like I'm creating something for this world that people can enjoy. They take inspiration from. They might just get leisure from, and enjoyment with themselves and their family. But I'm also making like money, which just like helps me live, and I inspire others, and yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
You like sitting back and looking at something that you created.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I love that part about it. And that's one of the things I always thought was cool about you talked about being in kind of construction, right? Renoing and building stuff. I used to do some, you know, small scale construction, build docks and stuff like that. And I would just sit back and stare at this for a long time. And I feel kind of similar about YouTube, and it's something you're constantly adding to, constantly being productive. You know what I mean? And you hear a lot of people, they aim to be happy, right? And you're sort of touching on this a bit. They aim to be happy, but if you aim to be happy, well, then you kind of get the people you see these ultra wealthy kids, and their daddies are giving them like Lamborghinis, and they're traveling the world on trust funds. And a lot of them are just miserable because the focus, or their parents focus on trying to make their kids happy. I want to give them all these amazing things, as opposed to being productive. Because when you're sort of productive, when you're creating things, when you're helping other people, that's kind of where you get happy from, right? Oh, and would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like giving back and creating, like giving back to the community in some way. It's like, yeah, like creating something for this world that's actually of value. I think everybody does that to some capacity, but sometimes when I look at some of the statistics. Have you ever looked at the hours watched on your YouTube?
I did some numbers just from Toronto, Montreal, Mississauga, and Winnipeg, and it was like 18.5 in a year's worth of people just in those cities have watched my YouTube channel.
Yeah, years. Like that's how much value you've created of like, entertainment, which is a valuable resource. You know, entertainment, education, inspiration. You know, these are the things that we're creating through, you know, content, you know, and information is a big part, but like hours, like I think I looked at, should I pull up a stat?
Sure.
I'll just pull up a stat.
Yeah.
This is a little bit mind blowing sometimes.
Yeah.
So in the last month, 391,000 hours have been watched.
Wow.
So of my content.
Yeah.
It's 391 hours times. No, wait.
You want to say
391,000 divided by 24 hours in a day, divided by 365 days in a year. It's 44 years.
44 years.
So in the last month, people have consumed 44 years worth of watching.
That's like older than I am as a person.
Like that's if you spent your entire life watching.
If I spent my entire life watching Xander Budnick, I wouldn't even watch as much as people have watched Xander Budnick this month.
Yeah. So it's like that's an enormous amount of value created for this world. Like, and it's cool.
Yeah. I like to look at something like that and hope that we're doing something for conservation. And, you know, I think there's something to be said for people that are outward sort of advocates or activists. But I think there's also something to be said for just putting stuff in front of people and letting them make up their own mind. And I see that from people I've brought out on some of my larger trips and seeing them get a connection with, you know, whatever it be, with nature, with God, with a greater power, looking at the mountains. And, you know, it never would have worked if I told them, hey, this is what you're going to discover when you're out there.
Right. Yeah.
But you see them connect with it and you're like, okay, I get it. I hope that in some sense we are being able to do that we're giving people a connection to nature and to these traditional skills and our roots, so that maybe the next time we decide that we might want to plow every last inch of the forest to build Walmarts, people might be like, hey, maybe we don't do that, or maybe we build one Walmart and leave a lot of the forest. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like to think that maybe all those hours kind of add to that a little bit.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you kind of a conservation minded person when it comes to that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for the parks and, you know, Crown Land and stuff, like what do we got? We just got another parking lot.
Right.
It's like, that's, you know, nature, like you can look anywhere in nature and there's a little bonsai garden, right? You look at any shoreline and there's like a little perfect composition of perfect composition of, just can't even describe it, how these things kind of like work together to titillate the eyes. And then you have, you know, human constructions, which are just like straight lines, walls, and you just can't. Nature just is so beautiful to our like to our like deeper selves to look at, that just can't be emulated
right. Actually, you remind me something too, the scales of it. So I think I read in a Tom Brown book or something like that, somebody was showing him that if you hold a rock really, really close and you stare at it, that rock really almost resembles a giant rocky mountain.
Right. It's like fractals.
On a really small scale.
Yeah,
and you almost kind of meditate and could imagine yourself little walking up this rock. You know what I mean? It's just like, even on these tiny scale things, you know what I mean? Nature just has like a sort of amazing kind of brilliance to it in every way, shape, or form.
It's like the rivers, rivers down to a streams, the way they snake through nature. It's all, you can zoom into, you know, as close as you can, and it's the same.
What do they call that? How these
fractals.
Different, what's it called?
Fractals.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating?
Like the shoreline, the way the shoreline like breaks up into like smaller and smaller pieces of itself, and you zoom out to like space and it's the same types of shapes.
Just the patterns resemble themselves. Like the rivers, when you look at an aerial photograph, resemble the veins in a leaf.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, something like that. And these things you know, it just seems like surreal almost, like how, you know, like there's got to be some greater force was like, okay, this is how we're going to. So some people do think that's evidence of a greater, higher power, or intelligent design behind everything too, right? I think you get some of that when you're out in nature.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I think that's why, especially when you're out there also getting exercise too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know if you find that just to, you know, we mostly do trips that are self-propelled too, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, I feel like you paddle across the lake and look behind you. Wow, this is how far I paddle. You get to camp, you got the exercise, you feel like you accomplished something. As much as I love motorboats and stuff, you don't have the same feeling when you just bombed up there in a motorboat or drove there in a car, right? No. You know, you don't notice as much around you either, you know? Yeah.
No, it's nature's done so much for me. Mm-hmm. I'm just like so grateful. Mm-hmm. What keeps you going?
Well, I mean, for me, I think, you know, just, this is my podcast. I'm asking the questions here. Just kidding.
Give us the goods.
Honestly, it would be a similar thing to me. Like, I like building, something as well. I really find it to be, fulfilling to follow something that I'm passionate about and find a way to make it work and say, holy shit, this is actually working. Just that little kid, you know, Jimmy, who was really smart, but he was misbehaving and talking out of turn or whatever to, you know, the teachers that thought, okay, you're not good enough or you're going to fail, but also now being able to kind of, you know, oh yeah, I knew I was this guy that could, you know, live my dreams and break out of that 9-to-5 sort of framework that I was never really happy living within. Yeah. I did mineral exploration and stuff, which I was really happy for. Some of those jobs are really good, but some of them, man, like winter drilling, you know, night shifts and shit like that, man, I'm just like, oh man, like the money was good, but I'm like, oh, like, I don't know if I want to be doing this forever. And just the fact that I was able to sort of take that risk and that challenge, like, dude, I was like, it was a struggle when I would decide to go into this full time. I was sort of out of necessity. I was like $35,000 in debt and like rode home with like on fumes from an expedition in northern Quebec and found a check in my mailbox that I forgot was owed to me, you know, and be like, oh my God, thank God, you know, like I forgot this is, wow. Now I can pay these bills that I didn't think I was even going to be able to pay. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah, but I think everybody has stories like that, you know, that are trying to do something that's out of the box, that's different, that's a risk.
You just got to keep chasing it. You just got to keep going. Like, even if you like have to take some steps back, as long as you keep the dream alive, don't get too caught up with like, you know, having dental somewhere, like don't like the comforts.
Right. Yeah.
You can't, because like then you just, well, I don't know. I've never been in it, but I know I would die a slow death if
I'd rather just have no teeth.
Yeah. Me too. I had a fortunate family. Like my mom's like godsend, you know, like when I was struggling to make it as a YouTuber and like plucking away at it, like I worked for her like for a few months, for about a year, as I was trying to like pluck it as a YouTuber, and I would be able to like take some time off. Yeah. And then it's just like my traction stuck. And she was like, go pursue your passion.
Awesome. Right? Man, nobody does anything fully by themselves. And you know, it's probably what is hard, right? You know, and you can see how people that just have very few helping or society, or they're born into a challenging situation, how hard it must be for them. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's I do feel lucky for sure, like you do, but you do, you know, it's not all just luck. You haven't just lucked into this.
No, this has been like, I've been thinking about this for many years.
Right.
Like, you know, just like, how do I get in here? You know, and then there's also like overcoming, you know, just my own blockades, right? Which were numerous, as we all have. Right? Well, not everybody has them. Some people just jump right in it. You know, they're like, boom. You know, they hit it off the bat.
You dealt with some of that shit that you had to overcome, though, dude. Like, which you talk about in your videos as well.
Yeah. You know? Well, it's kind of fun. It was like serendipitous too, because like I'm an alcoholic and like addict or whatever. 3+ years sober now, which is pretty sweet. We should celebrate this. I was hoping we'd come on this
beer bong, bro.
Yeah,
3 years sober.
So with this podcast, we just come on and get blackout drunk and just talk politics. It's like
rant just to no end. Yeah.
Anyways, it was kind of cool because like threw myself in rehab because I was like basically I was fucking rock bottom. Threw myself in rehab. Like I was making videos before that, but like I was fucking pissing around, being an idiot. Threw myself in rehab, got out, and then basically like 3 weeks later, I'm just like I'm going winter camping and I'm pumping out a video a week, and it was like my third video, fresh out of rehab that just like stuck, and like the few running up to that were doing better and better, and then the third one just like popped off. Maybe it was the fourth, and then it's like I'm full time. Yeah. And then it was just like people just latched onto my story and just like they liked the content, and the YouTube gods like honored me. And then it was just like I've been full-time since. So it was like, I turned my life around, got sober, and then I was kind of like blessed.
How did that feel?
Like, fucking amazing, man. 2021 was like this year that's just like, it was like, I'd freshly been sober and getting my life back together. It wasn't easy, but and then seeing the career come to life.
Right.
And getting respect from people and followers, getting fans, and being a creative and also just being outside and
so 0 to hero. Not that you're ever a zero, but again, getting to be outside, which is great for all that kind of stuff too, right? Like
for the brain, man.
One of the things Wyatt was talking about is how he basically got over his alcoholism when he was on Alone. I don't know if you watched season 10, but he like decided like that's it out there. And it was like such a healing experience for him, which is one of the reasons probably why he didn't care about any of the money. That's worth more than the money.
It's amazing.
For sure. You know what I mean? But wow, that must have felt good. What that is inspiring. So you had these addiction issues, rock bottom. Did you ever think that it was possible that you were going to be able to like blow up like that?
I didn't think it'd be like that. I'm like, I'm just going to like put myself out there, see what happens. And then it turns out people like that. Yeah. Right. People, it was like,
I can't even stop eating crackers. You know what I mean? Like I can't imagine if I had like a legitimate addiction to try to quit it.
I tried to quit for years. Right. And I'm just like, maybe if I just do this and that. And like, it just ramped up over years. I had addiction issues since I was young. I remember like stealing alcohol from like my grandparents' cabinets or like, going like wanting to go to the dentist so they could give me laughing gas because it gets you high and smoking weed as early as possible. Any like experimenting with all sorts of drugs. I like kept away from like the hardest of hard drugs because I knew that leads down a path that I didn't want to dabble with, smart, so I didn't go that route, fortunately, but I was pretty strong into like the pills that were prescribed to me. Yeah. And I would, whatever. And then alcohol and a lot of other like kind of middle grade drugs that I would dabble in daily and mix and whatever. And then it just ramped up to the point where I was like so unhappy. Yeah. And, and it was just like, it's like, what do you do? Like, and there was no way out other than off everything. Right. So that's where I'm like, okay, let's go to rehab. And that was fun. Met some interesting folk. And then just dove right into YouTube. And
holy
bada
shit,
bing, bada boom.
Yeah, and then you just went all out on YouTube and just started below. Like I remember the first time you came onto my radar, I just saw that video. I think it was like you're camped on a remote island, and I just there's like a close up of your face, and you're just like kind of like look at this intense kind of look on your face, and I saw this island and like, kept popping in, and then I'm just like. Then all of a sudden she's got like millions of views. My brother's like, he's like, yo, you got to check out this guy Xander. Right. And then here you are freaking on my podcast, all humble. You're a way bigger deal than me.
No, man, you are the biggest deal. Like, man, getting to like be friends with you is like boom. That's like that is so
now
cool.
I've really made it.
Yeah, no,
I've done the Baird Country podcast.
The podcast thing is sweet.
That's awesome.
But like getting to like be friends with you and getting to like meet you at first, talk to you, and then I don't know how that was it the YouTuber meetup. I think it was the YouTuber meetup.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So getting to meet you there and then like, becoming friends on Instagram and stuff, that was like pretty cool. And then like going on a trip together. Now we're like friends. Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah. You're at my house and shit. Man. I remember, it was that YouTuber meetup. And I remember we were trying to get wood and I was like way up some steep hill trying to cut wood. And you and Max helped out. And I'm like, fuck, these guys were raised right. You know, you're just helping out. You're not scared of hard work. You're, you know, carrying stuff around, like, you know. And I was like, man, these guys are all right. You know, these guys are good guys, man. Like,
Thanks,
they're the
man.
kind of guys that do the dishes when you're invited over for dinner. You know what I mean? Right? That kind of thing.
We got good family. No, you guys are cool too, man. Like you and your brother are like good shit. And like you guys you're the videos that like I watched.
Nice.
I wasn't big into I don't say I really watched anybody. And
well, it's hard to find the time, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I love living my own outdoor experiences, and I'll watch like some bigger videos, like, but I wouldn't watch too many people do what I do, but I would watch you do your big expeditions. Right. So I watched a lot of you, but I didn't watch many other outdoor YouTubers. Yeah, I like you resonated with me, especially early on.
Well, I did see that when you're lighting a fire, you grab the sticks and hold the
Oh, I do that all the time now.
I'm like, did he get that from me? You're like, got this from you, dude?
I got a lot of stuff from you. Yeah.
Yeah, it works great, eh?
And that's the cool thing about YouTube too, is like you don't have to like teach. It's like, this is how you do this. You want sticks about this size. Like you just show it, like you just do it, show it. And that's kind of what I do most of the time too now. It's like you just show by doing as opposed to by telling. And people pick it up pretty quickly. Yeah, it's
maybe for the short form kind of how-to videos. A lot of the time, people don't really want to be told. They want to learn something, but they don't want it to be like in such a, you know, kind of teacher sort of textbook sort of way. I find, you know what I mean? They like to pick it up on their own.
They can just see it quite quickly. Just go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, as opposed to, you need this size of stick precisely, and then you.
Right. It works good though. Even sometimes, even when the wood's wet, you can't find birch bark. Just grab a bunch of sticks, hold the lighter under it, put it down, build the fire on top. Right.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Man. Yeah, nice, man.
I find I try to use the ferro rod as much as possible because it's like it's the closest thing to being in the Harry Potter universe as you can without actually being a wizard.
And who doesn't want to be a wizard?
Exactly.
Yeah, and just jump full speed into the LARPing scene.
Yeah.
So what's that?
So that's the next stage.
The next
Xander
YouTube channel.
Xander Budnick 3.
Just 180 and just go full nerd. Yeah. Love it. So what's next for you, man? You're telling me about some upcoming trips.
So short little winter camping videos throughout the winter. The Nunavut truck trip. Maybe working with Toyota.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm speaking too soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll be driving my Toyota. So Toyota boy.
Yeah.
I'm going to Panama for doing like a wilderness survival course with Tom Wilson.
Panama.
Yeah, Panama.
Wow.
On an island.
Oh,
Should be
no
cool.
kidding.
So it's like a course. So I'll be learning like survival skills to learn how to.
Tom and like from Castaway, Tom and Wilson.
No,
Tom Hanks.
Oh god, Tom something. He has a channel. It's called Wilderness Survival. He's been on YouTube forever.
Neat.
You would know him if you saw him, but I'm really bad with these names. So doing a course with him, and then doing a video there, and then doing a Nunavut trip and Iqaluit, and then planning the summer, man. Like you're already on my butt about summer trips, and I'm just like, man, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing tomorrow.
It's hard,
you know. So we got to do a spring trip.
Yeah, I just getting fired up, excited about it. You know, one of the places that I feel like I haven't even gone enough is like spring brookie trips in Algonquin, right? Like I absolutely, because I'm always on the whitewater trying to go farther, but like Algonquin Park is an amazing speckled trout fishery.
It's like a black hole for me on the map. I'm like, okay, where am I planning my next trip? And then there's like a big Algonquin, and I'm just like,
got to drive around it.
So you're the same, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like
it's right here. Dude.
It's right. It's a big, beautiful park. I just feel like it's overused, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not going to the right place.
It has gotten a little bit
gorgeous,
more. Man. It is. It has gotten a little more overused. But if you're getting into the backcountry in the spring for spring trout season, you know, you're kind of running into more fishermen there. It's not really over, you know, there's a lot of people that are just like, it's like a religion to them to get in and go spring trout fishing. But there's some places where at that time of year, you're not getting the main influx of like endless amounts of summer camps or everything. You know, me and Tori, the weekend after May 2-4, we paddled Opiongo, Crow River, Petawawa River to McManus Lake, pretty much crossing a majority of the park. Didn't see one person.
Nice.
Not one person. So yeah, it's somewhere I was thinking I'd like to get into and do like try to chase some big trout and do like a pretty badass trip, you know. But it's hard to do everything, isn't it? You know,
man, I can't, like especially doing these longer trips. Like if I do a 10-day trip, I'm editing for 2 weeks,
right?
And then there goes a month,
right?
And then if there's only like 4 months of the summer, 3 like real serious months. It's like
our seasons aren't too long. Our summers aren't too long here, right?
I know. So it's hard to do it all. I'd love to get an editor. I've had like help with your editor as well. Kyle,
he's coming on the show, eh?
Yeah.
He's coming. He's jumping into Baird Country.
Nice.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting, kind of behind the scenes. But also, he's another guy that's he's like not even 30, and he's managed to start this whole business when all these other people from his generation are never going to be able to afford a house and never going to be. And he's like doing it all, traveling the world to exotic locations, like photographing hot chicks, like but he's like plays hockey
Playboy,
and basketball,
philanthropist, millionaire.
Yeah, like who is this
Kyle's
dude?
a cool guy.
I want to talk to this dude, so I'm going to get
tell
him
what's
in
up.
here too. Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah,
Maybe
right
a
on,
good guy
man.
on the show.
Cool, man.
So we get into some brookies this year or what?
I'm thinking so. Yeah.
Okay, we gotta
If you
figure
want,
that
if
out.
we'll get you like maybe Crow River, maybe Nipissing, trying some, where we would really load in and maybe catch that like 8-pounders on those little lakes off the Nipissing River where you have to like bushwhack into them. You're not allowed to camp there.
You ever thought about like, I have a pack raft. I just haven't used it yet.
Right.
Right. Like a canoe in pack raft.
Yeah,
like,
dude, I totally. So
something,
I
like,
have
really
one too.
Kooky like that.
I was talking to Brad Jennings before the pandemic that we were going to start from here. Now, this wouldn't be a brookie trip, but then we'd bushwhack to Big Deer Lake and take the Deer River, it's called locally, but the Fiari, back down to Maple Island. And there's all these little whitewater rapids. There's walleye in there and stuff like that. And pike would be open, but it'd be like this tight little intimate little like whitewater ledges and just like a river that no one ever paddles, that very few people see. There's a few places lower down where quad trails come into it, but it would start with like a 7K bushwhack to like a wicked backcountry lake.
So you need to pack raft it.
Yeah. Because you'd start from my house, and this is all just bush back here. You'd start from my house, 7K bushwhack would be the start. Boom. Then you'd be on the water the rest of the time. And then you'd finish about 15-minute drive from my front door.
Sweet. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I've been talking to Brad, but that's cool. That'd be a cool pack rafting one and close. But it's like, if I was going to take 5 days, man, maybe I'd rather go into the spring and go to Algonquin and go get some big specs and you know what I mean?
Time, man. I'm 4 years into this. I feel like I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
How much time do I have left? Hopefully I stay relevant enough to like bang out some more videos for another few years,
Well, you start a reaction channel.
Yeah. Well, I did.
Yeah, you did already?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I haven't done any video. Well, I've done my video and we'll see. But that's going to be kind of on the side like your podcast. But honestly, this podcast thing is such a good idea for you.
Thanks,
it's
buddy.
Like this works well.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should wrap this up a bit, buddy. I think we've been chatting for a while. So,
wonder how long.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for making it work. I know you had to drive a bit out of your way, so.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it,
it's
man.
all good.
Yeah.
Anything for you, Jim.
Yeah, looking forward to the future trips, man.